What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Elder Scrolls podcast. I'm Scott here with Michael and Drew as always, and we've got Camel back to continue this deep lore iceberg. So this is going to be another long one, so we're going to get straight into it. So, Altmeri poetic architecture. What do we think?
This, I believe, is kind of a bit of a meme. People were let down by Elder Scrolls Online's depiction of the Somerset Isles, like the architecture, and I was a bit too, because we've read so many beautiful things about it. But I think this was a comment from, could have been Lawrence Schick, saying like, the buildings aren't made of poetry or something like that.
Or did he say, I don't know if it's a different interview, but I think
Is that what it was?
Before ESO came out, he said they can make buildings out of poetry, ! Like he was saying that's something they can definitely do.
But, they can do it. I always thought that he was kind of saying, they can't.
I think...
I thought that was in a pocket guide. Maybe.
Well, in the pocket guide it says, it looks like it's made of glass and insect wings, and the towers reach towards the sky, and like looking at it is blinding, and all of this. And I figured that
you got it, Scott.
I figured that when it said, when he said it can be made out of poetry, it's like almost like a. You can theorize it's something like a tonal architecture or something like that, but it's probably just a metaphor for they make pretty looking stuff.
I found it.
That's what I was thinking.
I found it. Hold on.
Good.
How do I spell this dude's name? I'll just control find poetry. Hold on. So when the Elder Scrolls Online launches, the playable part of the Somerset Isles will be Auradon, the big island between Somerset and the continent that includes the cities of Firsthold and Skywatch. The architecture of the High Elves is fanciful, certainly, but it is also practical, constructed of real-world materials. Architects can't make buildings out of poetry.
Oh, that's boring. That's just a bit of a... It's like, it's got to be practical. We've got to make it look like everything else you've seen before. I thought that was an actual thing that they could...
I don't know if that's what he said. I'm just reading this off like a Ask Us Anything thing on a forum.
Right, no, that's probably it then.
Yeah.
Well, that's...
Anyway, let's move onwards.
Next one.
Megalomoths, which are basically from Kirkbride's. Isn't it he's writing about
Are they? I'm not...
space?
I can't remember if they are even specifically Kirkbride or another fan.
Giant
but regardless, they kind of
moths.
exist in the fan lore thing. So functionally, the ancestor moth priests made these giant moth ships, basically, and they would have like a big citadel on the back, and they could have like lots and lots of people board them. Apparently, they got wiped out at landfall, I think. So when we were talking last episode.
It's beyond that. It's from the 9th era.
Are they?
That's definitely some Kirkbride stuff, I think.
I feel like there's a massive flaw to the idea of flying around on giant moths. Like, aren't they all just going to fly directly into the sun?
But in short, they're like things like sunbirds or like other forms of void transport.
I think
like
I even read something about a
space.
ziggurat strapped to its back.
Yeah, ziggurat set a citadel type
Something
thing.
crazy. Anyway,
But
giant
that's
moths
weird.
that don't seem to be canon. Then we have
Cool art though. I'll put them up.
Dreg undersea cities.
Yeah, so that's a 36 Lessons reference when when Vivek was talking about how the dregs had cities of coral and glass, I think it was, underneath the seas, and that's pretty much it. So the dregs aren't just little creatures and stuff. There's lots of allusions to this all throughout Elder Scrolls mythology, in the Mythic Dawn commentaries with all of the tyrant dregs, and throughout the 36 Lessons calling them the Ultima of the sea. So there's dregs having civilization outside of just the creatures that you kind of experience.
Gives the queen, whose name is too impossible to spell and pronounce, the carapace of the of Molagbao's old form, the ruddy man, right? Is that where it's mentioned? That he gives it to them?
I think so. I think it's actually pretty early. I'm
Wasn't
gonna,
he, like,
I'm gonna pull up the 36 Lessons
Is it the
again.
Netchman's wife, who's like kidnapped and taken?
He gave the carapace to a humanoid, right?
I'm pretty sure.
Didn't they get super corrupt and then turn into the ruddy man again?
Yeah, like some kid finds it. Oh no, wait, they use it for the dregs, even though they said they'd protect it, and then some kid gets it.
Yeah, so So the direct reference is then I am as am Malexia. Then Am threw the Netchman's wife into the ocean water where dregs took her into castles of glass and coral. They gifted the Netchman's wife with gills and milk fingers, changing her sex so that she might give birth to the image as an egg. There she stayed for 7 or 8 months. So this is this is all about the birth of Vivek, and milk fingers means penis. So, because she's already to give birth to,
Wow.
just to screw herself and give birth to.
Dude, it's 9 a.m. What?
Yeah.
Bloody
You wouldn't
hell,
want to be
man.
Michael Kirkbride's kid getting the birds and the bees talk, would you? You get some weird metaphors.
Milk.
Boy, I gave your mum a milk finger.
Posse points / imposter points. This seems to be a ridiculous concept. When I looked it up, all I could find is that an imposter point is where nothing becomes something, where paradox occurs, and where nothing should be possible but everything becomes possible. And a posse point is the other side of that. So it's where something that is can become something else, an opportunity, a revolution, or revelation. I think it's kind of over the top ways of talking about simple things. Just doesn't need to exist.
Yeah.
I guess like the Big
Yep.
Bang could be like an imposter point.
Does it have in-game references, or is it like some weird fan thing?
Yeah, I feel like it's
It's
weird,
like only mentioned on Reddit.
probably. I think so. So we can jump straight to the Night Mother is Mephala.
Yeah, that's a real basic
Yeah.
theory, and it's pretty in-lore, even like it's discussed as a theory in lore game books. I did a video on Mephala Explained, essentially, and it covers all of that plus more. There's lots of cool stuff with Mephala and that, but I feel like it's a pretty done sound theory. So I don't know. We don't have to hang around on that.
All right,
more.
the Ogma,
Just watch it.
which I'm guessing is the Ogma Infinium, unless it's something deeper than that.
Unless it's Xerxes' wife was called Ogma.
Yeah.
The Ogma.
No, just Ogma.
Yeah.
That's why I because the Ogma Infinium is called the Ogma Infinium, so I don't know why it
Is
doesn't
this a
say-
similar play on words or something? In the same way before, how there was just the Annuad, as in because all of the Annuad texts are annotated or all that. So it's like instead of the Infinium one, where's just the Ogma?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's some play on like. It sounds like a silly theory, but if I was making this, I'd put that in there to just say, where is that?
Yeah, the one that's not Infinium.
I mean,
It's
maybe
just
the
the
Ogma
limited
was,
edition.
Maybe the Ogma was just what Xerxes wrote. That like the Ogma Infinium is his writings. That is all of his favorite moments in history, named after his wife Ogma. Maybe the Infinium is when Hermaeus Mora gets his hands on it and attributes kind of divine powers to it, or what, like some shit like that. I don't know.
What about where's the Ogma Finite?
I mean,
I
that'd be
actually
his
don't
wife
know
when he
if-
killed his wife, right? Wait, did he kill his wife, or am I mixing that up with a
Is
different
anyone-
thing?
I don't think so.
I think that's your
Are you guys?
headcanon.
Are you familiar with his wife?
Oh, well,
With
that's
his
a personal
wife.
question.
Yeah,
dude.
because I thought I saw you two together. No, apparently he created his wife from his favorite stories. So I'm wondering if his wife is literally the book, or if it's a person.
Yeah, created his wife from the favorite moments in history, and then the book was something Xerxes wrote.
Yeah, okay, so this is a
But his wife was called Ogma.
this is a part where it's like you kind of have
Yeah.
to interpret the way it's being written down, because is the book his made up wife? Like he doesn't actually have a wife.
Yeah,
his wife
that's
is
what
his
I
book,
mean.
Or is the book named?
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not actually.
Well, there's no other
sure.
mention of Ogma, is there?
Wear gloves when going through those pages, man.
Yeah, I think he needs one of those birds and the bees talks.
Some
He's a bit confused.
Milk pages. It's this-
I think we can safely move to
Ugh.
Sovereign Guard on the moon.
Is that's to do with the moons being Lorcan's body, right? And Sovereign Guard is Lorcan's little area, his little realm.
Yeah. I just think that elsewhere mythology just so overwrites the Lunar Lore theory, and also like I don't know, I just don't really think it stacks up against it, just because it makes so much more sense with Lorcage and their mythology being like the dark third moon kind of thing that appears behind Joan and Jode, and there's so much attributed to those like gods or whatnot. It just it doesn't make sense that they're just dead Lorcan.
All right, what about
bodies.
misanthropic space? Is this like space that doesn't like you? Like, what is it?
I mean, is it literally just a fancy way of talking about like the void? Like if it's all cold and dark and endless and eternal, but you know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, misanthropic is like having or showing a dislike of other people, unsociable.
I mean,
unsocial spaceman, classic.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Sithis Padme kind of thing could be.
What about Thanatos?
Doesn't he have a gauntlet?
That's exactly what I thought when I saw it. Apparently, this is some mythic dawn cult that Jagoth Thans supposedly started, like out of canon thing, which maybe they'll put into. Oh no, I was gonna say Elder Scrolls Online, but that might be where that one from last episode came from when it said Bangkok Cameron is Jagoth Than.
Yeah, so it's a Michael Kirkbride thing.
Surprise!
This particular message was found by no Hept der Kamal among the papers of the Thanatos. Mostly talks about the Dark Brotherhood in Morag Tong, and then it just goes on to talk about the Dark Brotherhood in Morag Tong. Yeah, I don't know. Something. It's just a vague reference to something. Papers of the Thanatos, whatever that is.
Yeah, because I mean, you do have a weird connection between Farn and Bangkok Cameron, just in the sense that doesn't Farn appear as a Bosmer, and it despite being associated with a imperial bloodline.
Does he?
Well, he appeared as a Bosmer or whatever. Or his race is supposed to be Bosmer, I think, and then he doesn't appear quite the same. There's
which is kind of similar to what like it happens around Bangkok Cameron as well. It's like obscured what race he actually
Isn't
is.
he?
But either way, I don't really like the idea that just because you've got two cool bad characters, they have to be the same person.
I mean, this is just read straight off a forum, but it's like Thanatos is the Cyrodiilic Mythic Dawn cell when it operated under Jagoth Than. But okay.
Yeah, because I guess...
Yeah, Jagoth Than, just to clarify, says he claims he's born in southern Valenwood to a Bosmer mother, which would indicate him being Bosmer. But the novel series also suggested he was part Dunmer and part Ultima with mixed human ancestry. So, I am actually not even... Oh, the real Baron Zaya.
Alright. Continental Time. I have a feeling this is kind of what I was mentioning last episode, the idea of time relativity between the continents. So time could be moving faster on Atmora, for example. Let's move on to...
Slower on Atmora, you meant.
Sorry, slower on Atmora. I'm just saying in general, like it's the idea of time relativity.
And like the sort of like Akavir being sort of future and Yakuta past and stuff like that.
The Marikati Selective. How much do we need to say about that? That's just like a lore topic.
Bring people up to speed on them. But obviously there's the Prophet Maruk of the Elysian Order. He put forward the whole faith with the one. And the Marikati Selective is like a sect of the Elysian Order, a special sect that were following, obviously, Maruk's words to the letter and so on. And they ended up causing the Middle Dawn by dancing on the tower. They wanted to excise the elements of the elven elements of Auriel / Akatosh and completely separate them, because they wanted to get rid of... And in doing that, they just screwed time for like 1,000 years by causing the Middle Dawn. But yeah, so that's the Marikati Selective. And I mean, you can hear people like Glarthir mention them and stuff like that, but that's them.
Does anyone know what the next one is?
It's a name for the Numidians,
a novel or a movie?
Yeah, it's just a synonym for the Numidium.
Right.
Basically, but never used in lore. I think it's only used in the Imperial Library.
It's used in a Kirkbride text.
All right, what about the Jills? We know these are supposedly these female dragons that come and mend time when a dragon break happens.
Yeah. So these are completely outside of lore. They're supposed to be the things that, like you said, fixed time. However, I think in one of the foreign versions of Skyrim, there is a book where Jills are actually mentioned. It was like I think it was even a children's book or something. And then I don't know, one of the words
that
was
like
Jills
Clob the
when you
Dragon, or whatever it's
translate it
called,
or something
Colb
like that.
the Dragon. I can't remember what it's called.
It might be. I can't remember, but exactly. But it's not enough. I don't think
from that
really
same text
canonize
that
it as a
ninth
thing,
era
but-
stuff is, where it's just like the Hist and the Jills are fighting.
Yeah,
and then
and I'm pretty sure the Jills are supposed to be like invisible, like you can't see them, or maybe I'm making that part up. I can't remember, but that's the reason you don't ever see the female dragons, because they're sort of like in a different.
Jesus.
I don't know. I can't quite remember.
The
but-
Sidushay
Anyway,
still lives.
they fixed dragon breaks.
The Sidushay still lives.
That's could be a cool thing.
Like he wasn't
Like, just
assassinated.
Well, just because of the nature of the Sayesi and so on, and how like their whole vampiric kind of form, they supposedly took on the forms of humans before. Like if they did the same thing, if he's kind of like our crazy conspiracy, every president's a lizard man theory, something similar to that. Like how Versidushay is actually
Could it be in any way related to the one we saw before that was Blade's secret bloodlines? Like perhaps they're maintaining Sayesi bloodlines. They were maintaining it in the Blades
that could
rather
be.
than it being an emperor, like a Septim or a
true.
Riemann or something.
Because it's descendants of the Dragon Guard and stuff, which had a bunch of
Yeah.
actual like Akaviri and so on. So maybe those bloodlines are. Maybe Joffrey was Versidushay in Oblivion.
All right, Molagbao destroyed Tamriel.
I don't know.
Unless it's like maybe there was some alternate form of Tamriel, which is what's his realm now of Cold Harbor or something. You know what I mean? But outside of that, I think it's
Not a
pretty
fan.
vague. Sort of.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah, Seekers and Ascended Sleepers. So Seekers we know as these creatures from Hermaeus Mora's realm of Apocrypha, and Ascended Sleepers we talked about last episode. These are
Corpus
these like
dudes.
Yeah, with long, would you say tentacle
Yeah.
mouths that they can play music
Yeah, but
with?
they're
They look
Lovecraft,
similar
man.
to
Yeah.
Seekers.
But ultimately, I think outside of that Lovecraft like kind of connection, or they've got tentacly kind of things, I don't think there is actually any
No.
connection. Because like with the whole like Ash, start off the Ash zombie and the Ash ghoul and their head impounds from being enlightened and so on, but then it's almost like what comes out of that hole is all of the big masses of tentacles that grow and grow and grow until you get to an ascended sleeper with all of that musical stuff, which we know as music is related to the metaphysics of the Elder Scrolls
Yeah,
universe.
it's more like a trunk.
Yeah, it's like a
whereas
bunch
then
of trunks, and they
tentacle
can
as
play
well.
them like flutes.
Yeah.
At least that's in some concept art. It doesn't happen in game.
Yeah, but it's a cool like thematic kind of arc for them. But I don't really think there is
All right.
any connection outside of they're both like Lovecraft
agreed.
vibe creatures.
Ordained receptacle. This is what the Kamal was searching for when they came and invaded, and then they found Riemann.
Yeah, so the second Akaviri invasion. No, it wasn't the Riemann one. It was the one after. It's the one that happens just before ESO.
Right.
It's when King Jorah and the Skald King and all of that like team up with Almalexia
you got the
and
phalanx.
Right.
stuff like that to
Yeah.
fight. So and then he is looking for the ordained receptacle, and people. The closest only thing that I've heard is it could be the Eye of Magnus for whatever reason, because that's the only big round artifact that
Didn't they land? When they land, they landed in
That's
Skyrim,
right.
right?
Perhaps. Yeah, they always land in Skyrim. They did the dumbest thing. They land in Skyrim, but then they do this like, oh, quick, we're going to run through kind of like, I think they attack Riften and stuff, and they're, we're actually going to duck through to Morrowind and do this thing. They were all like looking for this ordained
So it couldn't have been the Heart of Lorkhan
ESO.
that they were looking for?
It could be that as well.
Because it isn't
potentially.
that
I don't know.
you got to remember as well. They didn't call it the ordained receptacle. Like that's the translation.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't know what
it just means
is.
a magic thing anyway. Like simply put, which kind of means it's very like a holy magic relic is.
That I get like triggered every time I have to discuss this tiny part of lore, because ESO just that whole story of the Akaviri invasion there. The second Akaviri invasion used to be cooler, but with it post ESO lore and the whole like Skald King thing with Almalexia and Ismi Wolfarth and all of that. It just,
You've like lost.
I just,
Yeah.
it just doesn't make
Thinly
sense,
veiled
yeah.
hatred for Argonians is kind of like...
But it's also not even like I'm pretty sure that there wasn't even an alliance before with the Nords and Morrowind. Before, I don't think, when like pre-ESO lore. So like to be honest, any alliance between Skyrim and Morrowind for most of its history sounds kind of stupid to me. But they put it in. Obviously, this is all stuff to because this whole story there is to justify the existence of the Ebonheart Pact, which is just their leftover MMO races to put it because they, thought they had to do it World of Warcraft style and have alliances and stuff.
It is the dumbest alliance possible.
Yeah.
Valiance Plus. Again,
Sounds like
this is
a painkiller.
Kirkbride.
Oh, you got any Valiance Plus?
Pretty sure it's part of the ninth era type stuff.
Yeah, because I know what Valiance is, but I have no idea what the plus means. So it makes sense.
C++.
Yeah, it's commune.
Yeah, okay. Because Valiance is pretty much just a fancy way of saying light magic, like starlight magic that the Aliens... it's kind of just magica, really, that comes from the stars, right?
Okay, here's the quote. Commune soaked in the misunderstandings of the Dwameri brass and cricket lines around her, converting it into a language her data banks could study and synthesize. As eras passed, it became a language that she could harness as Valiance Plus.
That's I was going to say.
Isn't that like a coding kind
like
of sounding thing? Like C... Is that what...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
a coding language.
Something.
Well,
Yeah.
that's weird.
Right.
What?
Rorikstead.
Oh,
Hey, take it
Rorikstead.
away, Camel.
I feel like it's on this list because Rorik, the guy you meet in Skyrim that owns Rorikstead, he said that after the war he bought that land and built Rorikstead. But then there's a book in Skyrim that references Rorikstead like 3,000 years earlier in the exact same spot. And then there's theories that like he is actually an immortal Daedra worshipper, which there's some semblance for because I think all the women in the town are infertile or died during childbirth. And then in this place where it's like really arid soil, they have this flourishing farm. And there's some theories that they've been sacrificing to the Daedra. Like the women have been sacrificing their fertility for fertile soil. And I have like a 52-minute video about it with more evidence. I can't be
Got to get that
bothered
read
going into all of it
somehow.
now. Like there's some Daedric books and weird things. Joanne, this like magic dude's doing all this weird sus stuff with the kids at nighttime, teaching them secret magic. It's weird. It's very strange, but it's good fun. It is dodgy.
All right, Sovngarde Shore's Kalpic army. This is what we mentioned last episode about, Sovngarde being a place of warriors waiting as an army for the end of the Kalpa.
Yeah, so Shore's just collecting the best of the best so he can win the war in the next door now,
Yeah,
kind of.
Basically,
That's the gist of it.
Shepard from Mass Effect. Building his team.
Except only
Except
Nords.
only Nords. World refusals / anti-creation.
Yeah, so I think this is just some of the Numidium related stuff when the word, like the big powerful words no, like refusing.
Mathematical athleticism. I have no
Mathletes,
idea. I remember that. I have no idea what this is.
Unless it's related to some kind of like joke about like the athletics skill in Oblivion or Morrowind and perhaps how it was abusable or something somewhere with the mathematics.
I know there's a
underlying
story
it.
of some like maths magic where someone made someone disappear with maths or something. But I don't know what the athleticism part of that would be. So I
wouldn't be surprised if it was related to literally the athleticism skill in the games, and then it's kind of like trying to say like, because obviously like there's a mathematical equation determining your speed in the old games, like whether if that's like what it's referencing.
Yeah.
As like, oh, maybe it's lore, because some people take the gameplay functions way too seriously in lore. And
Well, what about the many Isgramors theory? What do you have for that?
I mean, I've never actually, or maybe I've heard about it briefly, but I guess the gist of it would be, I imagine, is just the idea that Isgramor wasn't one big like 500 crusader kind of things. It's just a mythical story that actually represents what was multiple migrations. And there were many big leaders there that did all of the feats that Isgramor's attributed, but it was
kind of
actually
like their
many
King
people.
Arthur or something that, you know, you can't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
nail it down to one person. But yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's something
That
like
sounds
that.
good.
Okay.
Once again.
The crux of transcendence, which I believe is just another name for the Mantella.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Boring.
I'm sure there could be more to it about, you know, you could go into all the lore about it and why that's one of its names, but yeah, pretty sure it's just another name. Adric artifacts are sentient.
What are some Adric artifacts? Aureel's shields.
There's Stendar's
Aureel's bow.
Stendar's hammer, Aureel's shield, Aureel's bow. There's the brush of true paint, which is like associated with Debella.
There's a few things, but why are they sentient?
We've got a video called 7 Adric
The thing is,
Artifacts.
don't all these
Yeah,
artifacts eventually leave whoever owns them? And just like vanish and wander off and disappear?
Yeah.
I think it can depend on.
Because
the
I've always
artifact
wondered
as
if that's
well.
the doing of the deity that owns them, or if it's the actual artifact doing it itself. Like if it's a literal sentient.
They tend to, it tends to get muddly because obviously they want you to own it in every Elder Scrolls game or different people to own it throughout time. Like the the Staff of Magnus, I think, disappears once the wielder becomes too powerful.
And I'm sure there are
that's another
distinctions
Adric
as well between how the artifact is made. Like even just looking at Daedric artifacts, say you've got Umbra. Umbra is much more likely to have a will of its own based on the fact it's just like a chunk of his power that was sacrificed, of Clavicus Val's power. Whereas if you've got an artifact that kind of just fell into the possession, like Volendrung or something, that kind of, you wouldn't say that's Malakaf's own power that went into it, so it's much less likely to
I
have a
think
will of its
Umbra
own.
did have a will. Didn't it turn into a person at one point?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
because Umbra
and
is
that's
like,
how that you
Umbra
get the whole-
you could argue Umbra is just as much a Daedric entity as Barbas is, you know, or not, maybe not quite as powerful, but
It's built
it's
the
a
same
similar
concept,
kind of
yeah.
concept. Yeah.
Yeah, because Barbas is really powerful. It's just the idea of Barbas being a hound that makes him kind of by default in this kind of special way subservient.
Yeah, to kind of keep Clavicus in check.
Yeah, but will never be the master despite having arguably equal power levels. Let's move on then to
paleo numerology.
again. I have no idea what this is, but numerology in the Elder Scrolls, like a lot of different things, has power. You know, like different numbers.
You can kind of go like, yeah, if you go like, you know, the wheel theory, like number 8 and stuff, the whole 8 divines, and then double that, there's the 16 Daedric princes for the 8. You know what I mean? And like, there's some nice, neat little numbers to make it like look good for people who need everything to be in order. You know. But paleo, unless that's talking about, so like ancient people, but this doesn't really stack up because it's kind of weird because you get ancient societies in the Elder Scrolls that are hyper advanced, but at the same time there's ones that are really low tier technology. But then sometimes they're like, you know, they might be working with stones and stuff, but then they have this really powerful sort of magic and mythical kind of properties. So it's kind of weird. I don't know. Maybe, yeah, I guess certain ancient cultures reference for certain numbers, perhaps.
Cool. What about Jagar Thun was actually the good guy? What do we think?
I mean, I guess if you take on board the sort of Bangkok Cameron's kind of theory about, you know, the whole Lorcan being basically a good guy and the Aedra being bad, and then for sort of the Empire kind of by extension being bad, you can kind of, maybe he had the same sort of, you know, Jagar Thun was in cahoots with Mehrunes Dagon at times, so you can
It's kind of
like,
that boring
maybe
idea that the bad guy is the good guy in their own head. Is kind of the idea of writing a good bad guy.
Yeah.
You know, so you could extend that to just about every villain.
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
the whole
it's-
game.
yeah.
Because
all the
can't
games.
it just end up being like, if you disagree with the Empire or think they're bad, then you can say Jagarthan is good?
Yeah, I think so. Like you could make out the whole empire is corrupt and it's built by Tyrus Septim and it's like from its foundation it was bad or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
just like
Let-
Anakin saying the Jedi are evil. It's like, well, in his mind, he's the good guy, but
He was. What are you talking about?
Speaking of, speaking of in his
well, yeah,
mind,
the ending was, I guess. Sorry, go on, Michael.
yes, here is my favorite one. Old Maris was real, in brackets, in my mind.
You can't prove it wasn't really, can you? It's just what the texts kind of point to.
Well, even in my mind, it talks about your favorite take on it, Drew. The whole idea that it was just an idea. It's a concept of a united people or something, but it never actually existed.
I can't say for
Like, as a
sure if it
physical
was
place.
Kirkbride, but someone kind of was saying that it's a memory. Like the concept that Old Maris
of
is
what?
a memory.
Yeah, I need to find the exact
Past times or
text.
something.
So basically, even when you look at the description of Old Maris, which I can't find the source, so I'm going to get the exact wording wrong, but essentially it's described as like a place with no nature. It's just a city built on top of a city built on top of a city. Like you imagine it kind of like memories that override each other, and it doesn't sound like a real place. And then the fact you've got all of these brilliant explorers like Topal the pilot. You got all these brilliant explorers like Topal the pilot who just have no idea where it is, despite
I
coming
love
from there.
that.
They
The
all end up
point
like
to why it doesn't
Yeah.
exist. It doesn't sound like it's a real place.
Well, it does actually say in the text that it's like in a lore text it says it represents the cultural divergence.
I feel like
of
it's
the
like
race.
Atlantis. It's like
Right,
Elder
so-
Scrolls Atlantis.
Yeah, well, that's how I picture
Yeah.
Yakuda. Is like
No,
Elder
that's
Scrolls
there. That's
Atlantis,
real.
kind of like. But yeah, I
Alright.
don't know. I believe it's made up.
The Red Pillars Atlantis is real.
I don't know who this is. Vivek murdered Morlin.
He's like the king of Rathim clan or something.
Exactly.
The Rathim, yeah, he's a King Moralen of the Rathim clan of Dunmer. Was a first era witch king of Ebonheart, who was famed as a finest fighter in Tamriel as well as a wise leader, and he helped drive the Nords out. So this was like in the time when during the time of the Dwemer alliance, the first council, the Dwemer and Chimera alliance, when they drove the Nords out of Morrowind. And then what was the
Vivek
theory?
murdered
Sorry.
him.
That Vivek murdered.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. Possibly Vivek kills a lot of people.
Yeah, let's just
I'm
say
happy
yes.
to move
Yeah, he
on.
did. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. Divine Skin / Dwemer Absorbicide. I'm pretty sure this is actually just the idea of the Dwemer being absorbed into the skin of the Numidium, and you could say, oh, they committed absorbicide.
It's a good word. I like that.
Yeah, we've got a video from
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago that pretty much explores this whole theory, is that Kagranak kind of knew what he was up to. It wasn't a mistake that the race disappeared. This is just, I'm not sure I buy into this theory, but there is the idea that he willingly sacrificed his entire race to become the skin of the Numidium to basically protect it from the reality of Mundus. It gets pretty wacky, but that's the theory, essentially.
All right. The Dream. I guess this kind of plays into the Godhead concept, right? I'm not sure why it's so
Yeah.
far down on the list compared to some of the other stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of, it was all a dream.
Yeah, the
and
Elder
then-
Scrolls universe is a dream being had by the Godhead. Easy. Next.
Yeah.
All right. True Nords are all bandits. This idea, I guess, comes from the fact that a lot of the bandit Nords seem to still be kind of fond of and following the old pantheon, and I think they have more dialogue lines even like about Shore and stuff like that, and the idea that they're not going along with the Empire's goals of getting rid of Talos worship, and also they make up so
I was
much
going to
of
say,
the
that's what Zarek
population
always talks
as
about.
well.
He's like 80% of Skyrim's population is literally bandits.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Also, like, even if you go like True Nords in the way, like if you go, back to their like True Nord ways is all, banditry essentially. It's like raiding and pillaging like Isgramor and like fighting enemies and living that kind of like tough life. Whereas they could easily see, like, if you were to call it, True Nord, like non-True Nords being all the city dwelling ones that get comfortable in their palaces and stuff. And like the lifestyle of Isgramor and the early companions and so on, and even the early Nords after, who expanded into Morrowind and were looking for new conquests and stuff, which is banditry / raiding. I guess bandit just has like illegal connotations to it, but at the end of the day, they're both people that attack other people for raiders, or bandits attack other people for material gain and land gain and stuff. So I guess it's trying to say is the True Nord way is to be a bandit, really, in the modern time.
Yeah. So then we move on to Sothasil's last words. That's in italics. I'm pretty sure this is a Kirkbride.
I was wondering about this because when you fight Almalexia at the end of Tribunal, she explains how she killed Sothasil, and she says that even when she went to kill him, he still defied her and wouldn't say anything, and he just looked at her silently.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
He just stood there silently while she killed him, and she's still angry about it. She's like, even in death, he annoyed me.
I'm just trying to find... It's from the Imperial Library. Chuck a quick Google.
Yeah, author Sothasil.
So who wrote it?
Sothasil, it says it's like obscure text submitted by the librarian author Sothasil. So it's a not strict canon thing. It's probably one of the developers. I'm not sure if who the librarian.
So the idea is it's a note he left behind when he knew he was going to be killed or something. Is that what it is?
And like questioning if he's a god.
Dude, how long? Right. Oh no, is it? What the hell is this? It's huge. This text is massive.
Yeah. I'll just read the third passage over. So it's like, I watch, I wonder, I build, I tear down. Am I a god? A sure as it's just as I'm sure it means as surely as any are. Gods have forever to measure their words, mortals only moments to hear them. Is the Lord Vivek a god? As surely as I am. Vivek is a poet. Trust not the words of a poet as he is born to seduce, yet for poetry to seize the heart, it must ring with the chimes of truth. Is the Lady Almalexia a god? As surely as is Lord Vivek. Almalexia is a warrior. Beware the warrior, as her steel may not distinguish friend from foe. But in a true hand, a sharp blade may carve history. Again you ask, am I a god? I am Sothasil, I am mage, I am clockmaker. You ask where my clockwork city is? Some say in the swamps of Blackmarsh, others claim it's deep in the grounds beneath Ebonheart. I have even heard it told that my city is contained within a jar on the Lady Almalexia's mantle. These are all true and false. My city is where I live, and I live in my city. Its location is unimportant, as I am its only citizen. The Dwemer were the Dwemer, the Chimer were the Chimer. Now the Dwemer are gone, and the Chimer are changed. Azura's words weigh heavy, and we have discussed the words of gods already, have we not? I am Sothasil. I watch, I wonder, I build, I tear down. And then I imagine he gets killed by Almalexia just then. I mean, his last words. So you can see he's kind of smug and very like, oh, this is all what kind of meant to happen. Kind of.
Except he stopped being the only citizen of his city and then started giving tours, right? In the
pretty much, yeah.
It's got a whole but then again, the Clockwork City stuff is
it's
really
interesting.
cool.
Apparently, Sothasil's last words text. There's a line: "Even gods dislike the absolute, for it stinks of something larger than themselves." It was actually used as a Elder Scrolls Legends loading screen. And then it says in January 2021, additional sections of Sothasil's last words were rediscovered from archives of Lorana's RP by staff at the Imperial Library. However, parts of the original thread are still inaccessible. Pretty mysterious.
Right, so it seems like something that was dug up.
Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways,
the deep ones.
You made a good
video.
Yeah,
about
there's a
this.
town.
There's
a town in Oblivion called Hackdirt, and you have to go there to save like an Argonian woman. And you go there, the town's super weird. Everywhere you go, like if you turn around, there's always someone like behind a building, like watching you. Like, okay, something's going on, man. And they have a chapel. If you go into it, there's a big book called the Bible of the Deep Ones. When you open it, it's all Daedric text. And if you translate the Daedric text, it's actually an exact copy of the... What's that slowed book? The Nagasta? What's it called? That one.
That one.
Yeah.
Oh, I know the one. Yeah.
I think they just copied and pasted some random text. But if you go in basically this town worships these unknown creatures called the Deep Ones. And under the town there's a cave system. And there's one section where the cave goes down even deeper. And then it's all like caved in, like there's all rubble in the way, so you can't get past. But if you stand there, there's a unique audio file that plays of like this super low growling, rumbling sound that isn't used for any other creature. So they've created a unique audio file to represent the sound of these deep ones that that these people of Hackdirt worship, and we don't know what they are.
It's super
sick.
Scary. You should have, not that you'd find anything, but it would have been fun to just put toggle clipping on.
I think I
and
did,
just
yeah.
fly down
There's
deeper
nothing
to
there.
see if you
Surely
find
you did.
anything.
Yeah, there's no
There's
way
nothing
you
there
did.
at all.
Yeah.
What are the theories? The Daedra slowed is another one because the Bible of the Deep Ones, when translated from Daedric, is all a slowed text. I can't remember the other theories if there were any.
On
But yeah, that basically...
Is it just translated
whatever that thing's called.
Nagava Gladys or whatever that one is?
That's it.
Yeah.
All right.
Reminds me of the Dunwich quarry.
Oh, dude!
from Fallout.
Actually, the
Like,
whole thing
the whole
is
story.
straight. It's a reference to the Shadow of Innsmouth, which is a H.P. Lovecraft thing, where this town worship these things called the Deep Ones, and there's heaps of little nuances and things that are taken straight from that. And the Dunwich quarry thing is also H.P. Lovecraft copy and pasted.
Yeah, that'd be why. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
All right.
Nernroots mini towers.
Okay, this is a theory that is okay, so it's just off Reddit, but it's basically just that the Nernroots are these little receptive radio towers for the hiss to
That's
spy
kind
on
of good.
everyone.
That's kind of good. I like that.
And then they go deeper into this idea, which I can't tell you off the top of my head, but how it's just like the actual towers theory, like the structure of a Nernroot and like all these analogies and stuff. But yeah, I think that's the short of it, like spy radio network for the
That's
Hist.
cool. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, the love letter from the Fifth Era.
Yeah, so that's a Michael Kirkbride thing. It's related to Coda again. It's the Jubal Lunsul guy, and he's writing like a love letter to the Fourth Era, it seems, from the Fifth Era, obviously, from where he
All right,
is.
Kagranak possessed Dagoth.
I don't know what that is.
Kagranak possessed Dagoth. I don't know. I don't really. I kind of think because there's ideas with there's different stories about Dagoth, whether he was like loyal to Nerevar after the tribunal sort of betrayed him, and he tried to stand up for them, or there's other stories where he was like went mad and like lost to the powers while Nerevar and the tribunal were away. There's stories where Dagoth went to the Nords and got the army of Nords to come with him to find the heart of Lorcan. And all kinds of... There's so many stories around there that in some of those possibilities, it could be...
It is weird as well, just because like, there wouldn't have been a War of the First Council without Dagoth, because he kind of revealed the secret of Kagranak's plans to the Chimera, that kind of set off everything, So the idea,
Unless it's some big, like, long metagame thing with Kagranak deliberately possessed Dagoth or something to, like, make him tell the secret, which would instigate the war, which would give him a reason to use the tools quickly or something, and then...
Possess him in what sense?
So
I think
achieve his
like
plans, but it's
like his ghost possessed him.
Do you know what? It could even be
that's-
influence. You know how there's some weird things with Dwemer machines about like manipulating people's minds or thoughts with sound and stuff like that. So maybe by possessed, it means
maybe
like,
his mask
mind
was like
controlled.
some form of tonal attenuator. That was
It does look
to keep
Dormary
him.
in motif.
Yeah.
But ultimately, nothing much to it, I don't think.
Oof.
Kulakane,
Cool.
Riemann bloodline.
I feel like this is Scott's thing.
Yeah, so that Kulakane is the king that was fighting to unite all of Clovia and a bunch of lands and General Talos in the conventional stories was helping him, or it could have been like Hjalti Hurleybeard or whatnot. But the general idea is that they also refer to Kulkane as like Emperor Zero, because he was the one that was supposed to be emperor until, what happened was one night a Breton Nightblade basically broke in and killed Kulkane and also slit Tiber Septim's, Talos, whatever name, throat. So he could no longer use the voice, but, he'd still... And also, there's the big theory that this assassination was coordinated by Tiber Septim and also cut his own throat to justify, to get rid of the what do you call it? The accusations of him doing it. But, so the idea there, I guess, is that Kulkane, that king, is actually of the Riemann bloodline somehow, secretly, which could be, it could be possible. And then that's why maybe Tiber Septim tried to get rid of him as well, because there was like I don't know. Mm-hmm. Because, yeah.
All right. Yeah. Cyrodiil spread to the stars. I guess, is this just about how, like, the sunbirds and stuff, like, they did go?
No, it's no, there's a reference in the Dragon Break, the Middle Dawn, all the different versions of what happened, and one of them, it's like, in one, Cyrodiil was an empire that spread to the stars, and in one, Cyrodiil was an egg, and in one, this happened. Okay. It's just all one of the many timelines of the Middle Dawn Dragon Break.
Now, how about Vivek's antlers? Now, believe it or not, this is not about Vivek being a reindeer. This is a location where there's like some kind of
sentient
coral
land
tree,
coral,
is it?
That's what it is. It's like right next to the old Ebonheart in
sentient.
Dijon, I think it's called, like the northern part of Morrowind, south of Vardenfell.
Deshan. Yeah, the
Is it Deshan? Oh no, Stonefalls. Yeah,
it's in Stonefalls. Stonefalls region.
Stonefalls.
Yeah. It is near the city of Ebonheart.
It's just big orange land coral that's apparently sentient and completely aware of everything. I don't know if there's some deeper thing why it's there, but...
Okay, what about Auntie Kim or Auntie Chim theory? Is this just what Dagoth... people say Dagoth achieved this.
Well, yeah. So I think it's the same thing. It's like, well, like he's dead, but he didn't have the when you achieve Kim, usually you become aware of the godhead, and then you're nothing, and you become you have a strong ego and able to maintain your sense of self and sort of like power, like the lucid dreamer over the dream. Whereas he is dead in the dream sleeve, but kind of like thinks he's alive and everything is him.
Yeah, right.
And sort of put himself into existence. It's a different... it's related to that, I'm sure.
Right. Well, we then have another painkiller.
Oh, man, I'm going to need it.
Z-Centrex. I need some Z-Centrex right now.
I have no clue.
Here it is. It's $12.99 from Priceline. I can't even find anything.
Yeah, that's so funny that it doesn't even pop up on... hold on.
In the middle of the Z, the Centrex without calm? What the...
Guys, I'm on forums.spacebattles.com.
That's the same one I just found, yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Click to expand.
Oh, God.
The one and inelegant Numna who crosses the middle of the Z, the Centrex without calm. Dude, I don't know what's going on.
I'm out. Thalmor Jiggalag worship.
Is that actually a thing? I was just thinking like maybe they seem very orderly, therefore they might worship him, but...
So it's a real theory that people have had. But
is it based on anything?
Theory, to be
apart
honest.
From order?
Not really, apart from like, how did the Thalmor suddenly rise to prominence so quickly? And maybe Jiggalag helped them because he likes order, and they...
It seems to go against all their ideals,
organized,
doesn't it? Really?
Look, it's just...
Yes.
Yeah.
I just don't buy into it at all.
Debella equals Yifri.
Nah. This is actually based on I think a lore-friendly text.
Right.
Not saying it's 100% canon, but this could be those texts where it's like blah blah answers your questions.
Oh yeah.
So it's
Oh
an
yeah,
in-game.
the archive.
I think an in-game character.
Yeah,
like, I
they
don't
do
have
it.
it here, so
ESO
bear with
staff
me.
does that.
It was something like refers to Dibella as a something echo of Ifri.
Okay, that's the way I would interpret that is that like it, you know, that happens with a bunch of gods in the way that they kind of like get watered down or changed or something. So like, you know, Shazar would, I guess you could phrase as an echo of Shor, or you could go like, you know, Stendar being an echo of Stun. So, and also Dibella is one of the gods that you only find in human pantheons, and Ifri is one that you basically only find in Valenwood, but also elven sort of pantheons. So perhaps there is actually a relation.
And you have
It's
her
from
association
Augustine.
with beauty, art, and music. You can see that you know how there's the connection.
Yeah, Ifri the
Yeah.
storyteller. You know.
So
you
this
can
is
kinda-
Augustine Villiers answers your questions, and it says, someone is saying, Lady Areta, author of Lamentations of Finastor, says, Dibella is a poorly understood song echo of Jaffa, misinterpreted by foolish Nords who only care for the pleasures of the body and nothing of the soul. Seek Jaffa's blessing and you'll find your soulmate.
Man, elves are so up themselves, eh?
True. All right. House
Oh,
cats
wait.
are actually Khajiit
There's one before
spies.
that.
This is
The
just a
Void
reference
Ghost.
to the Alpha.
I don't know what that is, but
You missed the void
Well,
ghost.
of course I missed the
You
Void
couldn't
Ghost.
see it.
It's
I don't
the
know what the
Void
Void Ghost
Ghost.
I mean, we can all like stab around in
I
the
don't-
dark.
unless it's talking about
this
Lorcan.
goes to this void thing.
Yeah, I think it is a reference of like Lorcan's
Good.
ghost.
All right, back to the house cats.
Okay, yeah, whatever.
And then the house cats, that's just a reference to like the Alfiq, like Khajiit.
I was
really
thinking
house cat looking Khajiit.
Because there's
being
16
used as
different types of
spies.
Khajiit. One of them is the Alfiq, which is literally a sentient Khajiit, just as a cat. But I was thinking, are there house cats in any Elder Scrolls game? Apart from ESO?
I think you might in ESO. Yeah, I think it's just ESO. Is the only
But
one.
then
we've seen
there's
it. Unless perhaps
cats,
in Dagoth
and
or
then
Arena,
they
but I don't think
introduced
any other games.
like actual NPCs you can talk to that are Alfiq. So I'm like, is there a difference between these two things?
Yeah.
Because you could imagine there are lazy Alfiq who just
lick their
want an
nuts.
easy life, who pretend to be house cats. For sure. I don't
That
think
would
there's
actually
any...
be so strange, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you can do.
What
Yeah,
if-
you can see everything. I doubt there's any like nefarious "I'm a spy" kind of aspects to it. It's probably just some. Yeah,
Oh,
that's a
there'd be
bit.
some.
It's a bit weird.
I'm sure there could be some.
What about-
Don't let them into the bedroom
What about
just in case.
TEM?
Is that an alien?
And it's
Dune
in
word?
caps, so you
Not
know it's
alien
going to be
Dune. What is
some
it called? I
sci-fi
can never
thing,
remember
isn't
what
it?
it is. The language that's used in the 36 lessons all the time. The all caps thing. Altadune?
TE.
Oh, that, yeah.
I feel like it's probably.
What's the language?
Oh, but I don't know if it's.
Yes.
Well, Daedric's. I think Daedric's the language, but it's
Yeah.
just not written. It's written in like.
Oh,
Okay.
English
Tiber
letters.
Septim's sword meeting with Cyrus the Restless.
Is this from that same book where Vivek and Cyrus met on Yakuta?
Seems like a.
Yeah.
I think it's like a Kirkbride thing. It's talking about the TEM Warspore Tiberia.
That sounds like
Some
something
kind
from
of
Tiberian
ship.
Sun.
Wait, have I got a different thing to go? So wait, when was that one?
TEM.
Right after TEM. Oh, what the hell? I've got like the
The-
Athadoric
go back one.
No,
Conundrums.
that's the next one.
After
Go back one.
after Khajiit Spies.
Yeah, next to Khajiit spies,
It
there's
says-
one more word.
Tem. Yeah.
Tem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TEM. Yeah.
So you just said sword meeting with Cyrus.
Apparently, it's referenced. Well,
what
I
were
think
you
the.
Oh, referencing that. Sorry, I thought you brought that up as the next
No,
topic.
no,
You
no,
went
no.
anyway. Oh, so yeah, and I was like, oh,
We're only
that?
halfway through this, dude.
I'm like,
Don't lose your mind yet.
yeah.
But that's all I can find when I search TEM and like Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, I think
We
can
ain't
skip
halfway
that.
through.
The
it is
Athadoric
a conundrum.
Conundrums.
Let's
I
leave
don't
it
know
a
what that
conundrum.
is.
Give it a quick.
Is,
Give it a
is
quick.
We'll
this
just have a go.
Agora thing?
Someone else do it.
It's in the okay. It's a mentioned text. So,
Okay.
The Athadoric Conundrums.
9 portentous questions with answers known to drive readers insane.
Yeah,
Steer
okay.
clear.
Was the
That's
only...
Sounds like a YouTube video title.
Yeah.
All right.
Sheogorath related. It's just
Likely.
a mentioned book, basically. Aetherius Dream Visitation. So I guess that's the idea that you visit Aetherius when you dream, when you go to sleep. But I don't know how that stacks up with Dream Sleeve stuff, or if the Dream Sleeve is an Aetherius, or how it all works. These are all kind of vague meta concepts that kind of exist both kind of
It's like ways
canon
of
and
possibly
half out of,
interpreting
so it's
canon
hard to
stuff.
really-
It's just like, And even if it is true, who cares? Whatever.
Because the Dream Sleeve gets pretty weird and confusing as well, because like, you see it as the place where your soul goes to basically be recycled and reincarnated, but then there's all the ideas of it being used for travel and things like that as well, right? Like it gets a bit whack.
What's the next one? Revelation at the death of Alesh. So the death of Alicia.
What revelation is this?
I'm actually not exactly sure which specific character and what revelation, like, because it's not.
Oh, wait,
Meruk
is that a
stuff, it was
book
actually
then?
much
Akatosh
later.
is said to visit her, right? And then Pelinal takes her away, potentially to some
Yeah, I just
theories.
don't remember what the
Yeah.
revelation is exactly.
Anything, all this second era stuff I'm so unfamiliar with. What was that first? I don't even know.
I guess.
First
Anything with what's her name? Oh, Ali. Yeah. I want to say Alicia. Alicia or Riemann. I'm like, Scott. Scott knows all this stuff.
Alicia's stuff is really cool. Like,
Yeah.
all
Yeah, it is
wraps up
cool.
with the A-lids and stuff. Yeah, I still don't know what the revelation of her death
Because
would be.
the title of that volume in the Song of Pelinal is called "On His Revelation at the Death of Alesh," but it
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's about Pelinal's
so
revelation.
it's in the Song of Pelinal, and you
Right.
just get just the
Yeah.
interpretation. But yeah, I don't
Okie
miss
dokie.
that much to it.
Oh, you.
You. So like
the original
primal-
you.
original.
It's saying that you are you.
I don't know, dude.
You.
Maybe it's just a reference again to like maybe like the you, like before the dream sleeve or something.
Like when
that.
you look back at an
Before
old
you-
video of yourself and can't stop cringing, and you're like, cringe.
Ugh.
The
Yep.
you.
Are we happy to move on from that one?
The you.
Yeah. Okay.
Alright.
So the empire fell in 417. So this is in reference to the third era. So the warp in the west after the events of Daggerfall is the events of like 417 is the date. So
What year did the third era actually end?
sorry, what?
90.
34,
433?
or something. 33.
Wait. Yeah, 433.
433.
Straight after the Oblivion Crisis.
And so I'm looking at the time. 417 is Warp in the West, the Miracle of Peace. So I guess their thing is, it's secret. It actually ended then. That's when the Empire really ended. And I don't know if they're just saying like that's like, the events were already set forth for its demise or something.
It depends
I
what.
don't
It's the
know,
year
man.
that Dagoth became powerful.
It depends what ending.
Right.
Well, he's been growing in power, but it's the year he stole the tools. They lost Keening and Sunder.
If you're talking
So
about
he only
Daggerfall's
left with
ending,
Wraithguard.
is there an ending where the Empire falls? I don't think so. Even if someone else beyond the Emperor
I can't
gets the
remember.
new medium, it doesn't mention the Empire falling, I don't think.
Well, technically, you can't say it fell if there's still a ruling emperor, right? So it has to have something to do with Uriel Septim VII, or somehow not being
I think
legitimate,
they
or
just
perhaps
mean,
being
like-
replaced is the idea.
I think that they're just kind of saying that's when the Empire its downfall began, or that's when things started turning south. Not it literally went away permanently on that.
I mean, it's a weird place to put it though, just because the warp in the West and the Miracle of Peace was actually such a good thing for the Empire.
Well, that's what you think, but you haven't. You don't know the theory, obviously.
Did you guys know that Cold
doesn't sound
Harbor
like-
is
What about-
the remains of Lig?
I mean, if you treat Lig as like sort of like a proto Tamriel, like Lorcan, there's that theory about Lorcan. It was Lorcan's like first attempt. You know how there's that earlier theory saying that Molagbao destroyed Tamriel. Like, if that is,
I would
Lig,
almost say that it's not necessarily Lig. I think we essentially said this, but it's probably not Lig, but it could have been another of his attempts because the adjacent they're called adjacent places. Yet we only know of Lig as an adjacent place. There's most likely other ones that just have no documentation in the current version of Mundus.
Why would it be in
makes
Oblivion
sense.
then? It would be in Mundus, right?
Wait,
Lig.
so what would be in Mundus? Well, Lig is kind of like, I guess the idea is that it's like, it's a like, if you imagine a photocopy of Mundus and Tamriel, that's kind of what it was, like a different attempt by Lorcan to create a mortal realm that failed, and there could have been other ones. That's kind of how I interpret what the adjacent places are, and the idea is that Lig was completely unmade by Dagon. So it wouldn't really have been anything related to
Just imagine
Cold
it
Harbor.
as like a tab on Photoshop, and you've got like the first attempt at editing something, and then you opened a new tab. So you've got two tabs open, and one of them's the first attempt, and they're like next to each other.
I don't think you guys have a leg to stand on. Let's be honest. I always imagine it like a footprint in the sand. It's like dude, there's a description of it as like a kaleidoscope.
Yeah, like a piece of paper being folded in half that's got ink on it is the description I think Kirkbride gave.
It was like a kaleidoscope.
If you imagine like the ink splats onto the other side of the paper.
Quick, someone fill the void of silence. Dude, sorry.
Basically,
If I ever
when
type
I
in
found
Lig without Elder Scrolls attached, there's like some stock called Lig. Oh god.
Ligma.
Falmer White Soul.
Yeah. I'm assuming this is just got to do with the fact that the Falmer all have white souls instead of black souls and use a black soul gem.
It's largely a game. Obviously, we know it's a gameplay thing, and people try and pull lore out of it. It's the same as, you could say that giants are a sentient race, but they have white souls as well. Like, where the distinction becomes a bit blurry and arbitrary.
I think I agree. It's based on gameplay things, but I think I've heard before that it's like, if the Dwemer were doing something to twist the Falmer and so on, and seeing if they could like, I guess, shrink the soul or make them beasts or whatever. You know what I mean? But the next one's pretty next level. I don't really understand much about it, but Riemann II, born of a cow / various.
Is that
various
like a female
cows or
minotaur
various /
Oh,
Yeah,
that
so-
could be.
Yeah, but so Riemann and his dad's Castav, who was really, really shitty emperor who followed Riemann I. But outside of that, we don't really know anything about his birth outside of that he's just the next in line.
I don't know if it's just a reference to this thread that I'm reading here, but it's kind of saying that, like, Castav the cow, and like, honestly, considering that one of the few second era documents on Riemann I says he was born from a hillock, a cow is as good a guess as any. And someone said they read a story about how a cow ruled Cyrodiil
Was there
after
a queen
Riemann was assassinated,
that they just hated?
and how it eventually gave birth to Riemann.
Is that just like a diss?
Okay.
Like, his mum was a cow?
I think this is just a nut job.
I think it's just a joke, eh? All right. But I do wonder what the / various is. It's got me intrigued. But anyway, let's move to Warhawk.
That's that dude. We were talking about it in the last episode. Talons. There was the 3 talons.
Yeah, one of the talons.
As in the character you play in Arena is called Talons, and then your character's dad is called Talons, and there's some other dude called Talons who is called Warhaft.
But what
It was the
about
general
him?
of the Imperial Guard under Uriel Septim VII, to whom he was both a loyal bodyguard and close friend. Little else
Is that
known
your player
about him.
character though? That same guy?
Warhaft is the guy who was with Uriel Septim VII when he came out of Oblivion. is what I'm reading. And then in other versions of Arena, it was just Uriel Septon the Seventh. I'm not sure if there's a theory based around that, but
Yeah, he was called Talon in Arena's opening sequence. He was originally intended to be the legal guardian of the Eternal Champion. He commissioned the writing and publication of the Manual of Arms and Armor. This could be another one of those examples where it's just like kind of showing lore knowledge. Like, oh, here's my general knowledge of lore. Like, you go this far down. Could be. Tata Medallion Moon Colony.
That's some like Star Wars. That's straight from Star Wars.
What's the Well, the only moon colony reference like I know is the Khajiit stuff and the Coda stuff and the Dunmer, like being on the moons. Unless there's other ones, which I'm sure there is somewhere. Let's have a look. Tata Medallion.
Hold on, are they spelling it wrong? Is it Tata Demalion?
Oh wait, hold on. Mod project. Hold on. What became? So is the idea is that Riemann era Cyrodiil colonized Secunda, but the vanishing moth ships and the establishment by the Khajiit of their own Secunda colony. Is it possible the Tata Medallions fight? And there's a mod called.
Anyway, I think this all comes back to the whole space colonies kind of out of lore stuff. So I'm happy to move on.
Sorry.
To Tamriel equals Far Shores.
Do you reckon that's to do with, like, given the Red Guards are the Yukudan's descendants and they came from the last Kalpa cycle, the Far Shores is the Red Guard afterlife, right? So instead of going to the next Kalpa, they actually all just died, and this is like Red Guard heaven? Do you reckon that's what it means? Do you reckon that's what it is?
Perhaps.
I mean, that's probably, that makes sense as what the theory would be.
Okay,
That's
cool.
wacky.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a not the heaven they were promised though, was it?
Full of elves to kill. I love it.
All right. Did you guys know that the Dwemer really were dwarves?
They were the same height as the Bosma.
Compared to... Yeah, well, I guess compared to giants, they were dwarves.
I think this is just a joke, really.
Yeah.
Like, because the joke is like, there's a full explanation for why they're not dwarves, like short people. But then they're like...
If in Morrowind,
dwarves.
when you run into their ghosts are exactly the same height as wood elves in Morrowind.
But then wood elves aren't considered dwarves,
they're not.
Right?
They are short, but they're not dwarves.
Or is it something like that?
And I have some memory of a poem written by a giant where he was talking to a Dwemer, and the Dwemer was referenced as a dwarf because it was from the point of view of a giant.
Yeah.
Apart from that, move on.
Okay. Well, did you know that water is memory?
I thought you were just
there's a reference.
I did know that.
It's like reference. Yeah.
I'm gonna
No,
drink
it's just
some
referenced
memory
throughout.
right now.
There's lots of like poetic little things, some magical elements and so on, but like water as an element in the Elder Scrolls universe is often associated
The world
with memory
river.
of things. And
Umril explains the last Kalpa as the world river, essentially, or like part of the world river. So,
It's said that when a mortal dies, their memories become water, and that all the memories of Tamriel's histories are stored in its water. Because there is like water magic, which isn't really talked about much, but obviously involves manipulating water. Some Avatar kind of stuff.
Yeah. The waters of oblivion, perhaps the same thing. The memories of oblivion in the waters.
And Yakuta sank into the water.
It's a memory.
AKA Aldmeris also sank, and that's why Aldmeris is a memory, because it went into the water.
Plus, there's the idea, isn't there, that all the realms of oblivion, you know, at least in Cold Harbor, which you can kind of stretch to the other realms, is that their oceans are made of chaotic creation, basically. It's like, that's what it looks like when you visit Cold Harbor, at least, is that it's all chaotic creation. So it's like, it's the waters that they're reborn from. But yeah, all of that stuff.
All right, Crassius Curio Time Traveler. This, I feel like we've mentioned
this the Argonian
every
maid guy?
episode somehow.
The lusty Argonian.
Has this come up?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like his
So it's
books
just an
are found, obviously, in Elder Scrolls Online, and that...
Yeah, so it's just one of the many explanations for it. Like, one is that it's a stolen story that he took credit for. Another one is there's a tradition. And the other one is that he's a time traveler. And he went
Because in
back
the Elder
time
Scrolls
and
3,
gave
you
them
meet
books, I
him.
guess.
and he's written the Lusty Ogonian Maid,
Yeah.
and then Elder Scrolls Online comes around 800 years beforehand, and the Lusty Ogonian Maid's there, which, you know, doesn't make lore sense. So they're creating stuff like this, where he's a time traveler, or the time traveling books.
Well,
or whatever.
you know, the story's not super like complicated. Plus, you know, it's a timeless idea. Everybody's got that weird attraction to Argonians that they shouldn't have, right? We all have that, yeah. Yeah,
I
guys.
love scaly. That's not.
Yeah, okay, clip that, boys. We'll post that to advertise the episode. Yeah, nah.
Republic of HUD.
What's the next one?
That's a I was about to say text bride. That's a Kirkbride text. The Republic of Hard is an underwater country below the tip of what was once the Delesian Peninsula. Its government is not recognized by any under imperial authority, as its people, also called Hard, have made no trouble whatsoever for anyone in history save once. This same government has never been contested either. Gosh, I'm not a fan of the grammar here.
Where is this? The what peninsula?
I think it was another
sounds
made-up peninsula. I don't know if
Hammerfellian.
it was,
Yeah.
but it sounds Hammerfell, just by the name. But okay, Leaper Demons. This is a 36 lessons thing. I'm pretty sure.
Sounds like the Grabbers.
No, or kind of maybe
The
it's
Leaper
not.
Demon
Kin?
King.
K-I-N
Yeah, it
or
sounds familiar.
K-I-N-G?
What's it from?
Okay.
K-I-N-G, King. The 7 fights of the Aldudaga.
Aldadaga. Oh, yep. Okay. Right.
Kirkbride.
Yeah.
I remember reading that, and for some reason in my head, I'd always read it as the leopard.
I read it as
King.
Leopard Demon too just now.
Yeah, so that's why it didn't ring any bells. But yeah,
The King of
Is it,
Leapers.
who is it? I'm just wondering who it's referencing. If it is, because some of these like things are like, I'm sure Greedy Man's referencing like Hermaeus Morin. I think. I don't know. We can move on. Oh no! So he cursed the King of the Leapers, calling him Dagon, saying, yeah. So I think it's referencing Dagon and the birth of Dagon. Anyway, we can come back another time for that one.
How about the Zero Stone, which is Adamantia's stone?
That's literally it.
That's about it.
Each tower has a stone. And that's the stone in Adamantia.
well, I mean, I feel like we've mentioned this before, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Elder Scrolls 6 revolves around the Dureni and Isle Balfiera. So I feel like the Zero Stone will be essential to the plot. And
if it's in
we'll
that
know a lot
region,
about it.
for sure. So between High Rock and Hammerfell, there's the Iliac Bay, and in that's the Isle of Balfiera, which is the island where this tower is.
Yeah. And there's an interesting story about, like, I can't remember exactly who gets shown, but, like, young acolytes in the tower are taken down to the vaults to see the Zero Stone, and all of it kind of just sounds like something that the player character is going to have to do. That's how I read it. I can't remember what text that's from, though. But yeah, that's about all we know.
Part of me just wants Elder Scrolls 6 to be the biggest curveball, and it is like in Valenwood or something, and everyone's just completely... I don't want Akavir, but I just want everyone to be completely wrong.
All right,
good.
The Drowned Lamp.
All right, let's move to the Drowned Lamp, which I think is another... is it a Vivek thing? Does it just represent like lost knowledge?
Yeah, so like the kind of idea, like, you know, water being memory too, and it drowned, like the lamp drowning into it, and
right.
Yeah, more poetic stuff.
Fiber Septum awoke Dagoth.
I guess that's just kind of getting at the idea that that he did that on purpose, perhaps to eventually screw over the Tribunal Gods so that he could get a hold of Morrowind. But I don't know what exactly the...
Is there any semblance to him actually waking him up?
I don't know.
I don't keep saying semblance.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever
happens
used the word
towards the end of
semblance in my life. I don't even know if
One
this,
second.
this
Second
makes
error. I'll
sense.
just crack. Yeah, because it's in the same time. Dagoth I'm pretty sure wakes. Yeah, Dagoth wakes up like 4 years before Tiber Septim conquers Tamriel. So in 288, Dagoth reawakens of the second era. So perhaps he did have some. I think when's the? Yeah. So maybe he secretly reawakened. But I don't know. What the. Specifically he did or could have done.
I was wondering if it's something to do with...
So it's just a theory.
Tiber Septim used the Numidium, right? I was wondering if that kicked... I didn't know. Something to do with Heart of Lorcan, some kind of...
Or like some sort of like metaphysical...
Lorcan link, I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. You could kind of draw something, I'm sure.
What about Akatosh's shadow?
It's a big...
Is this just like another way of saying Alduin?
It depends how you interpret that. It could be a reference to Shaw again, which is what I got into the last episode. About how Shaw's kind of overshadowed by Akatosh. Or it could be Alduin being his like later form, who's a black dragon.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Is there an actual thing, like this is a reference in a book or something, or some... The shadow of Akatosh, suddenly he was always...
Might be something.
Alduin is using Aka... it's like one forum thread where someone uses this phrase. Suddenly he always has been a shadow of Akatosh. Who?
Alduin, right?
Alduin is the first one of Akka, the oldest mythopoetic incarnation of the time spirit. When he reemerges.
There is a god called Akka, if I remember.
Yeah, isn't Akatosh
Isn't
though?
Isn't it somebody else's version?
It's
of
from
Akatosh?
one of the pantheons. I can't remember whom.
Yeah, it might be a Redguard thing. But
that would be separate from what people call like Akka in
Yeah.
the lore community, like
I
AKA.
feel like that was anyway, whatever. Apparently, it's referencing Alduin being a shadow of Akatosh. Sure.
I mean, if you look at psychology and stuff, gosh, I forget how to pronounce his name. Is it Carl Jung?
Young or
Whatever.
Young?
That guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not Jason.
Yeah, him.
Yeah.
He talks always about like shadows of different archetypes, like, which is basically like the negative polar aspects or the kind of toxic aspects of a certain thing. So it could be kind of saying Alduin is that of Akatosh. Anyway, let's move on to the people of Et'Ada.
I don't know what that means, yeah.
I don't know what that means. Well, the Et'Ada were the original spirits. So, like, literally, like, Aedra, Daedra, all of them, everything before the start of Mundus. So, the people, I mean, technically, I guess, like, the people of Et'Ada, like, if, as in, maybe perhaps descent, like, descending from some of them, aka, like, what the elves believe, descending from Aedra, descending from, Aedric spirits, which were Et'Ada. I don't know. It's kind of vague. Dwemer became animunculi, so I guess that's a theory that all of the Dwemer souls sort of became all of the robots.
Or just powered them at least forever.
Powered them.
They hit the, what do they call it? The singularity? Is that what was that what they call it? Or is that when everything speeds up?
Oh, singularity is when they hit... Oh, in like real life, the technological thing. Oh, it's like when AI gets so smart that at this one point that it gets to like human intelligence beyond, but there's basically a compounding effect, and it happens so fast that the exponential growth of AI intelligence will just happen at just
rapid speed,
ridiculous speed that you can't even really comprehend it anymore. It's essentially just gods. Left-handed Marima. So I'm guessing that's talking about Mayama. It's the idea that talking about the left-handed elves, perhaps from Yakuta left and kind of became
Seal.
What, is it the idea that they're somehow related?
Oh, really?
I've never heard.
Yeah, I think in the video I did on
probably.
left-handed elves, that was one of the theories, was the Mayamar, what were the left-handed elves from Yakuta. I don't think...
Okay.
The only thing I don't, it's just none of them are left-handed, are they? Don't they all use like right-handed sort of things in ESO when you fight
They're
them?
called
Like just conventional.
Yeah, that's the default, isn't it?
the left-handed elves weren't left-handed.
Go on.
In case you're wondering. No, it's a reference to
Well, 'cause they're
the
called the
sinistral
sinistral
elves,
elves.
and like in
Yeah.
Christianity, being left-handed was considered like in medieval times, I should say. It's like a sign of magic and evil spirits and stuff. So and because
Right.
the Yakutans hated them, they
Yeah.
called them the left-handed elves, meaning like the evil elves, the sinister elves, or sinistral. I can't remember what sinistral. I think sinistral does mean left-handed, literally.
It does, but yeah, as you're saying, it had connotations of being kind of like queer
Yeah,
or weird,
abnormal.
Or, it's different. And yeah,
Is there any reason why they're not left-handed? Like, is there a reference to specifically why they're not actually left-handed elves? Because I always took it heaps literally and just thought they were actual just left-handed elves. Like, because you know in how and part of what could make them like fearsome. You know in boxing they go like, oh, fighting a southpaw is very different, and there's a lot of top boxers that are southpaw fighters are left-handed. It gives them a unique advantage. I thought it was always.
That's what I was
quite a
thinking about
literal
Nadal.
thing that
Rafael
they-
Nadal in tennis, because he's left-handed and like everyone else is right-handed. I feel like he'd have such an advantage because he is used to playing right-handed people, but every right-handed person isn't used to playing him who's left-handed. He's got this mad advantage anyway. No,
Camel, are you left-handed?
you? I feel like one of you is.
Oh. Yeah,
I
Drew
am.
You
and myself.
sinistral,
There's two of us here.
dirty, left-handed elves.
just to add to that, by the way, sinistral comes from the same root in Latin as sinister too, so you can kind of see how like connections get drawn between not literally left-handed, but just being
Because I was with
antagonists
Scott. I
to
thought
the
it was left-handed
Yakutans.
until I made that video about them and found that link. And was like, oh.
Yeah.
Because there's that thing of... I was just going to say at,
Skyrim's
at the
getting
right hand of
colder.
God. And then at the left hand of God, that kind of thing. The left is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. My grandma wanted me to be right-handed.
Uh-oh, she thinks you're a
It's
witch.
old
Imagine if you're a redhead, left-handed redhead, burnt at the stake.
No, being
No-
left-handed
no
sucks,
soul.
man. Everything is designed for right-handers. Everything. You'd be surprised just how much stuff you get screwed
Should
out of
play
it being
tennis.
left-handed.
Well, what's the percentage of
Like
people
what?
Under
that are
10%.
left-handed?
I mean, like two examples being sports equipment and instruments. Like, if you want to be...
you guys remember Elder Scrolls Escape when I had to use a bow and arrow
Oh.
right-handed?
Or like
Dude.
firing a gun is another example, which we don't do
Scott,
down here.
whoever
but,
edits this video, can you grab that footage I have of Michael shooting that bow? Where it just goes... Dunk.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
terrible. It was so bad. It was like when you just tap shoot without holding the bowstring down in an Elder Scrolls game, and it just kind of falls on the ground in front
That
of
was
you.
great.
Oh, that was so terrible. It's a shame too because I'd used a left-handed bow before, and I was I was solid at it for a beginner, and then I had to pick up this right-handed bow and just, it was not good.
Okay.
But hey, if you play tennis or fight,
Yeah,
you'll have an
yeah, true.
advantage, Drew.
Shame I don't do those two things that are good for left-handers. But yeah, anyway.
Skyrim's getting colder. Did you know? It's like reverse global warming. It's just, the ice
I think
age
it's the
is
opposite,
coming.
is it not? Unless it's to do... Because in Arena, when you look at the map of Skyrim, the whole map of Skyrim is snow. And then in Skyrim, parts of it are snow and heaps of it have forests. But then I was thinking it was seasonal
It
thing.
was meant to be much more snow covered.
when you look at it,
wasn't
like, in Arena.
Yeah, because I think it was a
Well,
gameplay thing.
in lore,
for sure.
in prior lore things, you get the understanding that it really is like this proper frozen wasteland, except for the Reach, and the Reach was supposed to be like the only like really good fertile farmland. But you could go like, so obviously it seems like it got warmer, if anything. But at the same time, like for example, Cyrodiil seemingly got cooler. Like, I mean, if you go with the whole idea that early days it was all warm and jungle, unless they just like, retcon it out of existence with whatever lore. But you can even go to places, I think it's Senkator in ESO, and it's kind of like greenish forestish looking, like it's like, decent looking. And then when you go into it in Oblivion, it's quite desolate and cold and higher up. So two places, same spot, separated by, what's that, like 800 years kind of thing, that in one it's colder. So perhaps it's even Tamriel's getting colder in some way. Maybe it's just climate change in general, or
But
it's
specifically
developing
Skyrim getting colder?
consistency, but,
I don't
you know.
think so.
Well, with Atmora,
Yeah.
you know, because obviously Atmora is like supposedly getting colder and colder, so maybe they're talking about it just kind of spreading down
Some Game of Thrones
into
stuff.
Skyrim as well.
Perhaps, yeah.
Where the hell
Yeah.
are we? Are the Khajiit not even Elnafaic?
So I guess they're trying to say they're not part
What?
of the Wandering or the Old Elnafay, so they're basically not
Don't
elven
they
or
not
human
have
in origin or
a
any
known
kind.
origin? Were they like always around?
Well, they don't have their mythology. Their mythology kind of points to elf, like pretty hard. That they were some kind of like similar kind of thing to the rest of them, and they get shaped into all the Biazura. But I don't really know what the basis is for them not being part of the Elnafay, because I mean Anuad and stuff would tell you that there's only Elnafay.
And Topol sees them as just like purely bestial, but that's really all he saw them was running along the side of the banks of I think Lake Rumer is where he was. But yeah,
Or licking.
Topol the pilot's a dope, man.
You say he's a dope.
He's like,
I mean, he was looking for Aldmeris,
calls
wasn't
it
he?
a
So he
shit.
wasn't doing a good job.
He found him, and it's Tamriel. Tamriel is Aldmeris.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
anti-magic zones.
I'm not sure what this is. I assume it's just places where spells and magic
Do they
don't
exist?
work. I don't think so.
Are there pacifist zones in ESO where you can't
Oh,
draw weapons or anything like that? Maybe.
I was thinking about
Yeah, probably.
Dagoth's. Is it just called Dagoth the Heart Chamber? No, what does he say? No recall or intervention will work here. But then
Oh,
you can
yeah.
still use spells in there, so that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Unless it just means Skyrim in general, because they don't really like magic that much anymore. It's an anti-magic zone. They'd rather you didn't use it, but it's just a preference as opposed to a law of physics.
The guards would make you
No,
think that.
that's why there's limited spell diversity in the game.
Oh yeah.
Don't go burning anything down, whatever the guards say.
So the greedy man, which is an aspect of the adversary, it's like Skull mythology, and I'm pretty sure, from memory, I thought it was most
Did you say
associated
it's
with like
Skull
Hermaeus
mythology?
Mora,
Is
and
it?
that's kind of what they called him. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you go devil figure to the Skull tribes and Solstheim,
The adversary
the
is.
antith- yeah, but the greedy man's an aspect of the adversary. Because the way they see things, like they kind of see like dualism,
Hang on
like
a
the
minute.
adversary and the
Whoa,
Warmaker.
you were
and then
talking about the
everything's kind
greedy
of
man
like an
before when you're
aspect
talking about the
of-
leopard demons, right?
Yeah, the greedy man calling the leaper demons being Dagoth, the greedy man being Hermaeus Mora. But from my understanding, I thought the greedy man
Oh,
as
Jesus.
an aspect of the adversary, like Hermaeus Mora, it gets referenced in the Blood Moon,
Does it?
not Blood Moon, Dragonborn DLC.
I just
Until the
searched.
Scar. Thought so.
I
don't
searched
know.
Greedy Man on this thread, and I just saw Chim really close to Greedy Man. I was like, "Oh no, please, God!"
How about this
So we
next one?
Let's just have a real quick look.
I'm trying to pre-prepare.
Okay.
for the
Okay,
next
that's
one, by
fine.
the way.
Scott and I will handle this one.
Ho-
By that I mean Scott will handle this
Yeah,
one.
hold on, because he it's in the story of Avar Stonesinger. So that's actually it's from the time of Blood Moon, so it might not even be specifically Hermaeus Mora. So but the adversary
Is this an
adversary
in-game
has many
text you've found?
many aspects. Yeah, it's from Blood Moon, Oblivion, and Skyrim. So it's the story of Avar Stonesinger.
Who is Avar Stonesinger? I know that name
Um,
for some reason.
So the greedy man's kind of he's the Skull hero that went along to all of those beast stones, and you had to do the same thing as him.
I remember
in
that.
Blood Moon DLC, and then you have to do it again in Dragonborn.
Right,
as
so
well.
in Morrowind, where there's one copy of this
Um,
book, and it's given to you by a coursed wind eye from the Scar Village. Yeah, it's all a bit mythical.
Yeah. Yeah, it's high. It's just the easy to way aspect of the adversary.
And you're pretty sure the adversary is Hermaeus Mora?
It's the same way. The adversary in general, I think, is just kind of it's like the dualism of almost like probably even like Anu and Padme, you kind of go like, oh, the All-Maker Anu and Padme being the adversary, because there's elements like you could imagine that the greedy man being understood as Hermaeus Mora, perhaps, as he's also like in other things he's known to hoard knowledge and grab all knowledge and stuff, and he was trying to steal knowledge from the skull. But even there's this Thartag the World Devourer, and that sounds very much like Alduin the World Eater kind of thing. Like it's the different sort of
Well, I think
Skull,
I think
mate.
Drew should take it away with the next.
I've got nothing, dude. Nothing
Really?
at all.
What is it?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Vardenfell.
What's the next one?
Vardenfell lesbianism.
Scott and I were talking about this
anomaly.
earlier.
Yeah, I don't think, because there's Dwemer lesbians.
In
like
the-
you've made a video about it before, Camel.
In the city underneath
but that's
Mournhold,
underneath
there's two
Mournhold.
piles of ash in a bed with a Dwemer tube between them and a bottle of Dwemer oil, which its console name is Dwemer lubricant. So there's a bottle of lube, a phallic object between two people in a bed. But it's in
But the
Mournhold on
problem with
mainland
that is
Morrowind,
it's-
not
yeah.
on Vardenfell. So that's, the location of these lesbians is in the wrong spot, so I don't know what this is.
And maybe they were just doing maintenance anyway, and something went wrong. Like, you know,
It's the same as us at
I
E3
have
when
a
they walked in
feeling
on
it
us.
was referencing
Just
that.
to make-
So do I. That's what I thought of straight away until you said
They've just made a mistake, I think. I think they've just made a mistake. They've gone, oh, Vardenfell, that's where Morrowind takes place, the game. And then,
Okay.
so they've just kinda
Unless
lumped it
in like the
I have a feeling
ESO
that's what
chapter
it is,
for
but-
Morrowind, where they introduced Vardenfell, if there was just like suddenly like 7 lesbian couples when there'd been.
There were. I remember playing
need to
that, and
replay
I was
that.
like, there was quite
But
a
is that-
few.
oh, well then
Perhaps
maybe
the
that's
anomaly
what
That
it
there's
is.
suddenly a.
That they're not anywhere
they're all
else.
Vardenfell.
okay, this is going to be a really stupid question, but this is a blind spot for me. Can you get same-sex married in Skyrim?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
how is there an anomaly? If,
It's the
because
player,
it's only
yeah.
the player.
There's one
Different
there.
time.
well, it just sounds like lesbianism is obviously welcome in Skyrim.
If for the
So,
player
I don't know,
character.
all I'm saying is it doesn't
You can
seem
also
like
go
an
to
anomaly.
Sovereign God, which no one else can do.
I doubt the rules of
Yeah.
getting married. Mara's like, are you the player character? Then you can get like, I'm sure if they do lesbian marriages, then it applies to everyone.
You're
you know?
too much of an NPC. That's what you get told.
All right, let's
We don't
to
see what
that.
they're up to when we're not logged in.
Yeah.
We do anything.
Prism
All right.
text racked. Text racked.
Text
Uh,
draft.
I love.
Kirkbride
I love.
stuff.
We're at the point where we're like, oh, it's Kirkbride again. God damn it.
I'd be
I
really
love-
curious to see, like, just cross off all the Kirkbride things and actually see how
I
many are on
reckon like
this list.
50% is Kirkbride from this point on, anyway.
I love most of his stuff that's grounded in the... Pretty much every single thing he's written that's grounded in the games, I really, really like. But when it comes to his out-of-text stuff, it's about 50-50. Like, sometimes it gets a bit whack.
Yeah.
I think the
And I'm
in-game
like,
stuff was cool because
I
it
might
had
as well on
other
that
stuff
one,
to
but
kind of
yeah.
tie it down. And here it's just like helium balloons
Yeah.
just flying into. You're like, what?
Yeah, what wasn't that like Todd's job description for a
Keeping
while? Was
Kirkbride
keeping
in-
Michael
yeah.
Kirkbride in check.
Yeah. Ruptka, which is the Yakutan version of like Akatosh or Oriel. It's like their time god. It's also called Tall Papa is the other name. I don't know why
Tall
that's
Papa.
such deep lore.
Yeah, cool name, eh?
There's a
Elder
I
Council
was just
World
gonna say
Control.
there's a
Sorry,
pile
I
of
thought you
ash
were
in
gonna say something.
Morrowind's called Papa Joe, I think. It's actually an Easter egg. So you're gonna regret laughing. One of the developers'
That-
dads
that should
died,
be on
and he
this
put
list.
these ashes in the game.
All
I can't remember his
right.
name. It's something like that. Anyway.
We should put that far down on the list as like the ultimate
But-
mind blown.
So I'm assuming the Elder Council World Control is just some sort of like Illuminati kind of
Yeah.
theory. That's about
Yeah.
it.
Tiber Septum is a shape-shifting dragon.
Okay. I don't know what the basis is for that. It just kind of, there's so many other theories that are more airtight, and it just sounds
Why
like a kind of
actually?
wild
Why
one,
is the
you know?
Imperial Empire, whatever, is represented by a dragon? Is that?
Because the pact with Akatosh, but and also I think it's actually Akaviri influence as well that came in the time of Riemann. Because you know
No,
the
dragons
Akaviri all love
don't
the
they come from
dragon stuff.
Akavir
So I
originally?
think it's actually. Well,
All right,
There's
yes
a lot
and
to get
no,
asked.
because they added. Yeah. Well, this is where you get the conflict of old lore with new lore. Like, so prior to like Skyrim, kind of heavy dragon cult lore, all that kind of stuff, Akavir was most associated with dragons, it seemed like. But then ever since, Skyrim came about, they invented all the dragon cult lore, and then it kind of assumes, the dragon cult came from Atmora, and then it's all like Atmora stuff. So, and then, dragons, if you read about some dragon stories in Daggerfall, they kind of seem just different. Like, there was a different angle for the dragons back then, like in the way they sort of feel. Like, you can tell that they're written at different times in different eras of the series. But yeah. Zal, Xal, I guess.
Yeah, this one gets really confusing because if you research it,
Is that an
not much
Argonian
comes
thing?
up. Except Zal's words about Kagranak.
So in interviews with the Skeleton Man, I think it's Kirkbride, there's a human Murakadi selective called Zal. It might be
There are
referencing him.
3 Zals.
I remember.
Zal Nur, the Slaver, Zal Thak, and Zal Ithix. I think that's a location.
If I'm correct. Yeah, so this Murakadi selective Zal, I think, is behind the idea that the Dwemer became the Numidium skin. I think that's where it kind of originated from, was a report from him. But yeah, that's one Zal. There could be
There's one
Zal.
called Zal Nur, the Slaver, who is a giant Argonian. Dude, he looks like a teenage, like what was that show, Street Sharks? He looks like one of the. He looks like a lizard version of one of them.
Yeah.
But I think at this point, this far down the list,
yeah,
he's an Argonian behemoth. I think Drew is correct. It's probably some Kirkbride's. What is it? The Skeleton Man interview, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Insane Time God.
Oh, this is Akatosh,
we've-
right?
Yeah, so we've talked about this before in like previous podcasts and videos, but just the concept that Akatosh, being,
Well, not Akatosh. It's
easier
like
to invent.
like oversoul.
Yeah,
But the whole concept being like that all of the Akatosh-based entities, let's say, have different aims and desires and goals all competing with each other. So like Alduin wants to eat the world. Akatosh wants to preserve the world. Oriel wants it to have never happened. If you want to put Toshraka in there, then things can get even more complicated. But it's a very multi-headed god, and it's even isn't Akatosh even depicted as a two-headed dragon? Or like
Dude, I just pictured a
one
Targaryen
human and
thing
one
from Thrones. I'm like, no, he's got 3 heads. I'm pretty sure.
At the end of the day, you can just go like, insane time god. Like if it is a time god and we know that Kalpas happen, and it's like, what's the definition
Michael
of insanity?
Vanish?
It happens over and over. We've lost Michael.
Got a 0-sum, boys. Okay, he's back.
He's back. Anti-zero sum. Yeah. But yeah, so in insane time god, it's kind of like, if what's the definition of sanity? Doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. Right. So if you're the time god, doing Kalpas over and over and over and over and expecting something else to happen. Arguably you're insane. Staff of Unity and Chaos.
Is there a staff called the Staff of Unity?
Think?
I know the Staff of Chaos is the thing from Arena that you have to collect the 8 pieces of and then destroy.
It's the same stuff.
It is the same stuff?
It's the same stuff. It's also called the Staff of Unity and
Is
Chaos.
it just called the Staff of Chaos because Yeogar used it to cause chaos?
Don't know.
Yeah, but what do you think it's referencing about it? I guess that's the constant question. It's like, why are you asking us to talk about Staff of Chaos?
What? That's the thing. Anything that seems simple this far down, I'm like, there must be some crazy deep lore thing that I'm not getting, but that can go screw.
Yeah, so the next one is Draco Chrysalis, which is from another Kirkbride thing, the Numantia Intercept. So it's where the Ultima sought to focus on Draco Chrysalis, or keeping Elder Magic bound before it could change into something lesser, an act which ironically required ethereal surplus. The Aelids harvested Cast away creation from oblivion by entering a pact with the Masters of the Void, the Princes of Misrule. And this is about the High Elves making Crystal Tower. Anyway, we can toddle on. Telescopic Orbis.
No clue.
I'm not really sure. Is it the shape of a telescope instead? Like maybe like if you envision the universe, it's actually like little and like out like this. Oh wait, hold on, maybe it's like a telescope. And you know how a telescope gets wider and wider and wider. It's like Kalpas, like each cycle is each thing or something. I don't know. Anyway, very very high conjecture. Gaynor is Psy. So Psy, the god of luck from Daggerfall era, and we know Ebenarm and Psy both don't get references anymore. But Gaynor's a character in Tribunal.
Oh, that guy, the guy that keeps asking
Pauper.
for money. I wanted to make a video about this guy because he's the worst character. Like he's like in terms of writing, it's good, but when you're actually playing, you're like, this guy sucks. I hate this guy. The god of luck.
I guess the idea
I know
is,
why. Because his luck, he is the hardest enemy in Morrowind. Because his luck is set to 800, and it's basically impossible to hit him. Okay.
Right. There you go. What's next? Haskell is the actual mad god.
Yeah, I mean, that theory is kind of just like that. It's not that Sheogorath was punished by... Oh, Jiggalag was punished by making Sheogorath. It's that Haskell was punished by being put in this realm with two opposite sides of himself who are, like, to deal with, who are all kind of crazy and difficult.
Yeah, because in Chamberlain Haskell answers your questions, he says, I am a vestige, all that remains of a mortal from your world who mantled Sheogorath during an event in a previous time.
Yeah, and also just the basic fact that he's the one who keeps order in the realm, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't agree with it, but I can see like the theory for it.
So Moralen equals Nerevar, so that's that same king of the Rathim clan.
Why the focus on Moralen?
I don't know. I think he's just because he's an obscure character. He seems to be written about in Daggerfall era stuff too, I think, anyway, so... I don't know. It's the same as how people get like hung up on Ebenarm and stuff because it's like a cool concept, but it's like never really talked about. I don't think. In
oh my
newer
god!
lore.
Look at this next one.
So, Sayesi vampiric language-eating shapeshifters. So
it's like some Alex.
I mean, we know
Jones
like we've
title.
talked about this plenty of times through these dot lines, but the Sayesi being the idea that they eat and consume and then sort of become shapeshift into the form. So they ate the humans of Akavir and then sort of took on the forms of them, and that's why they came here, and they were sort of like snake-like, you know, and there's references even when you speak to some who are quite human-looking, like the Reynold Chevalier or something like that. I forgot his name exactly, but he talks about how I'll shed my skin anew, and they also live really long time. So I guess it's the idea that they might be like, you know, vampiric in the way that they sort of like consume another body and then become that and then live that life over and over. But by language eating, I don't know if it really means
they
like...
feed on language. I'm clicking a hyperlink and it took me to the Imperial Library. Author Michael Kirkbride.
Okay.
So maybe it was a kind of like a additional thing that they literally...
Well, the eating language, you can kind of say that like language, you know how they go like that language dominates like the way you think and stuff, right? They say like the way you think in your head is you in your native language or not. So sort of if you can consume other languages, you can like, and like maybe it's like language eating, sort of like the dominance of language over culture. Like, you know, when the Romans spread the Latin language and everything, it dominates culture, and then Latin becomes, you know, French, Spanish, and all of these other languages. But there's this...
I mean,
you
they tend
mean?
to enforce language, though. Like a lot of those cultures, like make it the law and force everyone to use it.
Yeah, but it's not... Well, I don't know if in Roman Empire... Like, a lot of it, I think it was the class when the Roman Empire collapsed, that a lot of them were just Latin-speaking after they'd been in the Roman Empire, because it's been, like, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years. And then when they split, then they varied again with, like, local variations. but I don't know. The Scarab's
That's the
transformation.
Amaranth.
So
The scarab that transforms into the new man, one of the walking
so-
ways. Someone in the dream realizes it's a dream.
Yeah.
I actually don't know how this works. Is Chim before this transformation?
Yeah, it seems to be that Kim is like a thing that comes before Amaranth, because you inherently to become a new
You
Amaranth.
would already have to know.
It's all related
Yeah.
to the Godhead, so you need to be aware of the Godhead. And if you're aware of the Godhead and you can't handle it, you zero sum. So you kind of have to achieve some degree of Kim, I guess. Like
We
to
talked
be
about it
able to
last
be aware
episode,
of
but
the concept.
and my understanding of it is the scarab that transforms into the new man is someone in the dream transforms into the dreamer itself, becomes a new godhead.
Yeah.
I'm checking with you
Yeah.
guys in case you're like, no.
No, I'm pretty sure.
It's
That's it. This
all-
is the thing. It's all kind of, codery,
Mm.
out of lore kind of stuff, interpretation stuff, but Trinamalarkey.
I can find one reference to this, and it's like someone casually saying, "I'm not as well versed with all that Trinamalarkey." It's just stuff involving Trinimac.
So Trinimac obviously becomes Malakath, but Malakath is related to the Nordic Orki, who is Malakath and Arche kind of combined. So I guess it's Trinimac, Trini.
That's what I was thinking,
Malakath,
because
and
there's
then
Arche on the end of it.
So as opposed
Gosh.
to Joe Biden Malarkey, it's Malarkey. I
Right.
think is what it is.
King, dead
Wow.
wolf, deer. But that's
we got a
not
real interesting
deer.
one at the end of this
That's
line.
it's not the animal deer. It's deer as in like
That's,
my sweetheart deer.
It's
King,
a
dead wolf,
Oh, dear.
deer?
Yeah. Oh. I don't know why maybe that's a mistype, but there is that concept art by Michael Kirkbride for Bosma, and one of them is this King Dead Wolf.
Just readjust.
Yeah. Yeah, that is weird. The monsters that do get created by a wild hunt, all form a Bosma, are said to be ferocious and long-lived. Notable examples include Willy the Bitten and King
I've been there.
Dead Wolf Deer, who were created by the end of the 4th century of the First Era and lived at least until the beginning of the Third Era.
Yeah.
Oh, multiple underkings.
Cool. Multiple. I guess I know there's different theories for whatever reason about. I don't know.
Isn't there
In my head, I always
Talos
see it as
theory
Xehanort,
where-
but there are theories about it being Izmir Wolfarth.
I've seen there's some graph where it's like a bunch of circles overlapping, and in the center is Talos, and each circle represents a different character. And I think one of them is the Underking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Xehanort.
Is the Under- yeah, is the Underking,
on
right.
that Venn diagram thing.
Okay, good. I don't have to Google that.
Is the Under
Thank
King?
God.
So I don't know if it's sort of both of them. And what about the next one, Thoughtbox? What do
Yeah,
we
there's a
think?
place Camel's been before.
And I will again. Don't you worry. I've read about this before, and it's nothing to do with the Elder Scrolls. It is a thing, though. I think it is in a Kirkbride writing.
It's not supposed to mean that, right? Like it doesn't mean thought as in the
Don't
word.
think so. I feel like thought used to mean something else, because when I played World of Warcraft when I was like 12, like the website that had all the World of Warcraft information was called Thoughtbot.
Right.
How do you guys not know what the thought box is? It's from Kindle.
It's Kirkbride stuff.
So
It says, here we go. It's literally like the start. So it's like Commune started her existence as any other proxy synthetic of the 9th era orbital mining guilds, a limited sentience, deep pressure capable thought box, and like they've got the quotations there. A deep dream sleever shell used by remote mortal operators to run the rigs of Kinnereth's illicit breath trade.
apparently you can make your own thoughtbox. If you go to coda.es/thoughtbox, you can describe to the Dominion the thought you wish to produce and create one. I'm on it now. It's like a multiple choice
kidding?
quiz to create your own thought.
You are
Yeah.
kidding or you aren't kidding?
I'm dead
But, like,
serious. No, I'm dead serious. Coda.es with
Get
like
the-
the O's
get
a
out.
zero.
But what is it?
I don't know, man. I don't dive too far into Codos. But you get to make your own. So
I don't know if you're joking or not. No, wait, because
No,
you do
wait,
this
just-
all the time.
Just type it in. No, I
He trolls
swear,
us,
type it in.
but then holds it for
Coda-
like 10 minutes, and then we're all arguing with him, and then he's like, no, I'm just kidding. Like, remember the sushi? The sushi discussion? He was telling us he
yeah.
pronounces sushi as sushi. And then he's like, well, tell me another word where it's U-S-H-I as ushi. And we're all like, God damn it, he's right. I can't think of it.
If you say anything with a straight enough face, someone will believe
Okay,
you.
all right, I'm going to look this up. What is this thing?
Yeah. So Coda C0DA dot
.es.
/Fotbox.
Oh, it's real.
It's real.
What is this?
There you go. So everyone create your own when you're watching this.
What?
See what we make.
The tower.
I'm just clicking random.
Whoa, hang on.
things.
Sorry, there were one of the options.
But we shouldn't be going. Let's not go too deep into this Fotbox. Let's just skip to
Yeah.
the next one.
Let's do the next one. So the next one is Bar Dao is
Oh, yeah, we were
shit.
talking about that before.
like actual
So-
flung
Malachi.
from.
Flung dung, you could say.
So Bar Dao being the big meteor
One of the
above Vivek.
explanations is it's
City.
Malakath's dung that he flung through space.
Someone referenced here, Sermon 33, Vivek shouted out.
Vivek shouted out.
This is just a stranger says.
How many Curix would that be? That's a big crap for a even
you say
even a god.
Curix?
That's a big one, but Curix, isn't that the measurement system for the
Is
size
it?
of-
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an
Curix.
informational
Should we-
video on it from South Park. Yeah, so wait, is there any what text does that come
The
from?
dung,
That's Malakath flinging it. And
it
how
does.
about
It is an
Vivek
in-game text.
producing it.
From the provisional house, he looked into the middle world to find the seventh monster called Lie Rock. Gosh, if that's a weird way to say he produced it.
recall
I don't
the
know.
book. I'm pretty sure that it was just like Bardau is this, blah blah blah. Some theories say, and then there's just like 6 random theories. The last of which is that it's Malakath's dung.
Anyway, that's what that theory is. I don't think there's a whole lot to it.
Vivek City must smell.
Testimonials on Bardau. That's what that is from. Other lesser-known tales and theories vary widely as to Bardau's origins, with one identifying it as a former Magna Gi named Una, another insisting that it was an egg from which one day would emerge the nightmarish offspring of Vivek and Molagbao, and yet another is claiming that it's Malakath's dung.
Is there an Elder Scroll? Is that Elder
Let me
Scrolls
just click
Online?
this book real quick. Testimonials on Bardau is seen in the Elder Scrolls Online. Yes.
Yeah, I feel that's yeah. Cool. Anyway, Nuhata. That's a word I've heard plenty of times before, but
Isn't
I
that the
cannot
author
remember
of
off
the
top of my
New
head.
Manshire Intercept or the relevant character
Ah,
from
right.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Where are we at? Talos brought back dragons. I don't think he did. Nephalalagus is the one that helped him, and that he was around. He's in the Elsewhere
is?
DLC.
Wait, is
So Nephalalagus?
I actually didn't know he was in the Elsewhere DLC. Do you
Oh,
mean he made
sorry.
a return, or
I was thinking of Nalthaga.
because Nephalalagus
The
was
mum
Redguard
of, like, King
initially,
Lysander.
right?
I was like,
and
what?
Yeah, he's in. He's
Isn't
in,
that an
he
iron
helps them out
dragon?
doing shit.
Ah.
Sorry.
he's the red dragon, Nephalalagus,
Yeah.
who looks after the treasure.
Yeah.
of
I
Stros
was
Mackay.
trying. I feel like
Pretty sure he teams up with you and the Dragon Guard and stuff.
don't you kill him? Doesn't Cyrus kill him?
to help. Yeah, but that's like later in there. So that's in.
I don't know.
Like, you know,
I'm
towards the
thinking
end
of
of
an
the second
iron
era.
dragon.
But he's
Did
around.
Talos have or Type Septum have a pet dragon?
who claimed he was like a mercenary of him. Nephalalargus, the Imperial Red Dragon. He's the dragon that burns Hunding Beta. And
The
like,
Imperial
helps
Red Dragon.
conquer
Is he the
Hammerfell.
dragon on the banners? Is that him?
I
Red
don't think
Dragon?
it's specifically him, no, because I think it's just
Because
a
I
red
think
dragon in general.
the shape of the dragon on the Imperial banner, to me, it's more the Amulet of Kings combined with a dragon appearance, right? That would have been the initial thing.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure the Amulet of Kings was sort of this more prominent symbol for the Elysian Empire. But yeah, okay, but I don't think he brought back dragons. No, Lig's Numidium.
I guess this is just that there was another Numidium in Lig, or that it was Dagon created by the Magna.
I mean, it makes sense, you know, if you've got the idea of the Magna, like, it's not much of a theory, it's more just a connection, but the Magna create Mehrunes Dagon in the bowels of Lig and then he eventually kind of unmakes the world, right? And that's essentially what the Dwemer were trying to do with the Numidium, and, well, you know, kind of effectively did when the Numidium's used to conquer Tamriel, but not destroy the world. So I guess maybe that's the connection. Yeah.
Perhaps, yeah. Dawn ideological warfare, and I'm pretty sure this is just the idea of mythology and like the strengths of certain cultures' mythological tellings kind of make it more real thanks to the Elder Scrolls universe kind of thing. Like, you have so many competing mythological stories about creation, about the dawn, and they're not always like, you know, perfectly, you can't really make them all mesh well together. So it's kind of like becomes a matter of ideological warfare. But if worship does make something more powerful or more true or something, then perhaps so we're talking about, like, it's sort of like all warfare between different groups to kind of enforce their idea of the future. In the same way, like, the basis for this kind of like mythic is kind of like, you know, how the Thalmor kind of want to get rid of Talos because they want to eliminate the idea of him, so he no longer exists in the mythic. So erase the upstart from the mythic. So if you can kind of control the mythology, you're kind of controlling like the reality.
But then why is it dawn?
Oh, because it's about the dawn is what it was like at the beginning. So if you can erase the reason and this is in the Kirkbride text, remember still. So, but erase the upstart from the mythic, so it can erase man from the pattern of possibility, like in future Kalpas. So like in the next dawn, do you know what I mean? Like you don't have the
like, I don't think
you know what I mean?
I don't think in that text it actually said removing Talos does erase man. I think that was actually a separate step.
It was a separate point.
Like a separate task.
But it would be. But if you look at Talos, especially if you can view Talos as like the new god of man, as the replacement
it's like for
Lorcan, it's
process.
It's a step, and but I think that's all it's talking about.
Right.
But also it could also just be like within the dawn itself, like everything gets a little bit more mythic and it's less literal because it's hyper magical and mythological. So, you know, ideas have very, you know, literal power and tangible power and effects on the world at creation. But anyway,
Vivek
destroyed.
This is a really weird thing because, like, the idea that Vivek is associated with Yakuta is odd, but the Yakutans seem to have a name for Vivek as a god of theirs, the name being Ansu Gurlet. And it says, I talk now of the demon king of the star-wounded east, Vek, and Vek the circle talker, Anon Ansu Gurlet in Yoku. And he brings disaster, is what's described in Cyrus's meeting with Vivek. But, yeah.
Hang on, wait a sec. When did the Yakutans come to Hammerfell? In the first era?
800 and something.
Vivek
First
existed
era, was it 780?
So I think...
I feel like the whole Yakutan thing existed before Vivek did.
So that... No, Battle of Red Mountain's year 700.
Yeah.
So Yakuta's around and so on, but they're still fighting and so on. Frandar Hunding is born after Vivek became a god.
It's 780 when Frandar Hunding took the first wave of Yakutans to Hammerfell. So I guess the timelines can
80.
align, but he's got about
because of the destruction
years of demigodhood to mess with Yakuta.
Yeah.
But
but like there's not much to it. Aren Kinmune.
Oh yeah, this is the idea that Commune is Queen Aren.
Oh yeah, I've seen this a lot, but I have no idea.
Is there any
what
like
it means.
cool stuff to do with it, or is it just some crazy theory?
I mean, Commune doesn't particularly interest me
Out of
that
game
much.
text that it talks about a mining robot.
Yeah,
from the
for
Ninth
that
Era.
reason
It's a bit
mainly.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's not that I don't think it's cool. It's just like trying to
Yeah,
stay on
that's like all
topic.
Kirkbride stuff. As soon as it's out of game, I'm like,
Don't some people refer to Aren
Sorry.
as Kinmune in ESO, like in actual dialogue? That I could be wrong there. I'm
I
trying
hope
to
you're
find
not.
it. but
That'd be cool.
I think it is. I think it's a thing that she's referenced as Kinmune, but it'll take me a little while to find it.
I'm
so.
gonna wait here.
I would be very surprised if that's true.
Well, for the next one, at least, tigers equals guars. I'm pretty sure that has something to do with Tiber Septim when he first found guars, but he couldn't. There was either I couldn't pronounce it or something. and
Googled
then-
it and
so
I
he just
found
called them all
literally nothing.
tigers. Hold on. There's I'm pretty sure I remember reading this in the Imperial Library. Oh yeah, okay, hold on, here we go. Background on guars and Tiber Septim's love of tigers. Lizards. Another little known fact is that the Imperials often refer to guars as tigers. Here's why. During a tour of Morrowind in the earliest days of the Armistice, Tiber Septim became enamored of the beasts. On the mainland and specifically the Deshan Plains, guars are striped. This, coupled with the fact that His Holiness was never able to pronounce guar correctly, his troubles with the provincial chimeric tongue is legendary, led to Septim finally calling them tigers, from a fabled recollection of a storybook beast as he loved as a youth. The new name stuck. Even now, dress slavers often refer to their cattle guar as tigers. So that's why it's...
Is that an
guar
in-game
equals
text?
Tigers. No, this is it's a Michael Kirkbride thing. Where
Every
like
time.
it's been posted on other
Every time
websites and
it's
preserved
Kirkbride.
on Imperial Library. So, okay. So next one, Mora
Assume
is
that's
a
referencing
failed
Hermaeus
Elder
Mora?
Scroll.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Drew, you've talked about
What?
this before.
Hang on.
So I
Okay.
was in another world.
Sorry, what's that? Hermaeus
Failed
Mora
Elder
being
Scroll
a failed Elder
implies
Scroll.
that they were created by something.
What? I'm trying to see the
Well-
connection between him being a failed Elder Scroll, but you hear the ideas that he's created from the leftover ideas of creation, right? And he's associated with prophecy and fate and scrying the same way the Elder Scrolls would be. So I guess inherently, because he's not an Elder Scroll, perhaps that makes him a failed version. Because I don't know. It's weird, but there's an association between the two for sure.
Yeah. Well, I guess the last one we'll do today is Sithsit, which is just the referencing Sithis in the 36 Lessons of Vivek.
Yeah.
You get Sithsit all the time. So it's just the word for Sithis, which we know as the soul of Padme, as the sort of big void embodiment of the of chaos and change.
Do you want to do one
Ununderstand
more
it.
line? Because then we finish that image.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right, let's do it. Khajiit tattoo theft.
Okay, we know this
So
is
I think this is
like the tattoo that was stolen
From
by
yeah.
her,
So
right?
Regin steals a tattoo off Empress Kintara's neck.
Yep.
Myth appear. So that's just a common word for
Myth makes reality,
mythology
right?
and myth making. Yeah, kind of I mean, they also reference in for people making fantasy novels, a myth appear or something. It's like Lord of the Rings. Tolkien's Silmarillion would be like a myth appear kind of thing. So it's like a big mythology, but it's
It's
essentially
like a
just myth,
cyclopedia
mythology,
of the
kind
mythology.
of myth making.
It's the making of a
Yeah.
myth, right?
Yeah.
And in
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls, it's the idea that popular consciousness controls the existence of divine beings and different things.
Yeah. Dragons, biological time machines.
I mean, I guess if you were looking at Jills and the stuff we were saying before, dragons literally mending time and dragons being biological in the sense that they're living things.
I saw this thing as once. It was about the idea that, you know how like space and time are related, like
Yeah.
they're like connected concepts. So like if you know you're controlling time, you're somewhat controlling space and so on, and like the universal bending elements of the thumb. And also when you kind of like, if a dragon is like a symbolic thing, a creature of time, if you're a dragonborn and you eat another dragon, or another dragon eats another dragon's soul, you're kind of like absorbing that time. Do you know what, you know what I mean? Because I saw this thing on something about like the last dragonborn being a time eater basically, or something, and it gets whacking out there, but you know, I think it's a similar sort of.
We're going to need about 20 minutes for this one, I think.
Argonian
Okay.
I guess that's just referring
Totally
to
makes
this,
sense.
that they're not mammals and they have breasts, and breasts are for milk.
Yeah,
I think they're totally
They've-
justified,
we all-
personally.
Maybe it's like Luke Skywalker, like blue milk.
we know this is all.
like whenever he's drinking.
Yeah.
I mean,
Anyway, we all know this was just like, you know, it's just
Well,
a
I mean,
developer
look,
code.
you could say
Um,
it's to get, like, it could be they could
Hist
produce
sap,
his
yeah.
sap in there to pass on to their. But even without that,
Yeah.
like the whole idea of the Argonian. Why am I doing this so much today? The whole idea of the Argonians is that the Hist saw things they liked about the humans and elves, and they copied them when
Yeah.
bringing the ancestor lizards, turning them into humanoids. So any humanoid aspect of an Argonian that isn't present on an ancestor lizard is just as ridiculous as Argonian
Yeah.
tits. So like, why not have some Argonian
but the big
tits?
question
Oh,
is,
you
the big
explained
question
it a
is,
lot.
why do all the ones three or 6 years earlier in Morrowind
Yeah,
don't
developer
have
code.
tits? And then all the
they
ones in
not?
Oblivion just
because
do.
They vary. They
The
vary.
weather
You could say
break.
that
there's different types of
there's no
Argonian. These are the
better
titted
size.
ones.
Yeah, you can say that the Hist did it.
Do
To
they
make
not
them
have
fit in
breasts
more
in
as
Morrowind?
part
Yeah,
of their plan
exactly.
to take over the world.
Look, I don't think we should be complaining. you
I'm
know.
not. I want more.
It's fine.
You really like this identity, don't you? You're really carving
Wait,
it
Scott,
out.
was that you that said they
No, I'm
didn't
just trying
have
to take the
breasts
heat off
in
you.
Morrowind?
Well, you can take female Argonians' tops off, and there's no breasts.
feel like
think
there's
there,
like a
there
little
might even be
bump.
a slight.
You,
like,
you just got used to mods,
I
Camel.
never. I only have like a texture mod.
You forgot the vanilla game.
Bro, I gotta look into that though. The blue milk mod.
Wait, female Argonian Morrowind. Yeah, like you can get ones. They're just walking around with.
I can't. It's also like it's Morrowind's graphics.
Yeah,
It's
so
really
there's
hard
this-
to tell what's going on.
I think their torsos are kind of
Yeah.
naturally slightly shaped differently as well, so that their chests poke out a
Yeah.
bit more in general. I'm not sure.
I feel like they do have some slight breast thing going on, but when you take
But
when
they don't have
you
mammalian,
take
like,
it close up,
nipples
it's just
and
like scaled armor looking skin.
Yeah.
What's the last one? The
The last one.
The Elven Lie.
The Elven Lie.
It's another Imperial Library thing. There's a text where Joe Bash is saying, "Don't fall for the Elven Lie. When will you wake from the Elven Lie that all men believe?" I think it could be referencing the towers, or Jabasha says, "Don't you fall for the Elven Lie. The tower is older than the elves, as old as music, for it is the word and the start of words and the end of Almcivi, as Vivek may say or not say."
It's kind of like, Boethiah exposing Trinamac's lies and showing them the triangle truth to the Kaima that could be associated with the Elven Lie, like in another
Yeah,
sense.
so Jabasa does not fear. All Etada have laws, customs, weakness, even if they cannot be spelled, pronounced, enumerated in the Mundus. And there is another weakness of the Elven Lie. I don't know. Mystery.
Well. I think we'll try. I reckon maybe next time. Like that was 2 whole sections. That took us just over 2 hours. I wonder what will happen next episode if we try, because it does get a little bit more sparse.
the last
slightly
3
in the first
images,
Fargoth one.
sparser, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that will be it for this episode.
Well, it's time to become the next picture in the next episode, because I'm still feeling like I've got an orb in my brain.
All right. Well, we will see
See
you
ya.
guys in the next one.